We are joined by none other than Marty Jannetty.
MJ in the house.
How are you today?
Good, sir. Good.
Okay, let's start out. How did you get started in the wrestling business?
Well, it started out actually accidentally, sort of. When I wrestled in high school and college, and from some of the college tournaments, promoters would come around, and even back then, I know they do it heavily now. Back then, they would come and scout around, and I had a couple of promoters, come approach me and talk about wrestling. But back then, I was big into the amateur thing and had this goal of, being national champion, NCAA champion, and making an Olympic team. And so, the pro wrestling didn't really interest me. And back then too, if you were into amateur wrestling, you might enjoy watching it once in a while, but to be asked to do it was almost an insult. Like, no, I'm going to do the real thing. I don't suppose it's like that now. In fact, Elwood Kurt Angles and, Brock Lesnar's and everyone is kind of, I think now everybody's looking forward to that next step, going pro. But anyway, it was a situation where down south where I was at in Georgia, the Southeast was dropping their wrestling program. They had a deal where, I forget what it was called. They had to either add a girl sport or drop a guy sport, and wrestling was getting dropped from all the schools. So I was running out of, I went to junior college for 2 years and ready to go to a major college in the Southeast, and they were all dropping their programs. And also I was still wanting to mess around with football a little bit, went to Troy State, walk on there to play. And, still juggling around the sports era stuff there. And wherever it was, one promoter telling me about making some certain amount of money, and the money sounded decent. What he offered wasn't anything great, but my goal was for amateur wrestling. Like I said, to be a national champion, I want to go to major college and pursue that. And then one summer, I got a job driving for North American Van Lines, and I'm going to tell you what, man, when you load 20,000 pounds of furniture for 6 hours and then have to drive it for 6 more hours and unload it, I got to thinking about this wrestling thing. What if I get one guy kept telling me, you could do this later after you're through with your amateur wrestling, but what if you get hurt next year? So basically, Jerry Oates, a guy in my hometown, Columbus, Georgia, who wrestled. It was big in Georgia with Georgia Championship Wrestling back in the day. He had a school there, in a gym, Oates Gym, and I thought about, what if I have to drive a truck and move furniture wrestling? Let me go talk to this guy. And so I went to Jerry, and he trained me, and he had connections with Harley Race and Bob Gagne out in the Central States area, which was part of NWA back then. And fortunately for me, he was able to learn fairly quick. He was able to get me from that out to NWA out there in the Central States area. But basically, that was how my start. I think it was all because I didn't want to work regular jobs.
So were you much of a fan growing up?
Yeah, I on and off. When I was a little kid, Big Bill Dromo, Bob Armstrong. Man, Bob Armstrong was my favorite. That's why that goofy thing that I'd always jumping around for. Bob Armstrong used to do it a lot better. in a different way, and that's actually what I was trying to imitate when I'd ever do that. Was when I was a little kid watching Bob Armstrong do that. But I was went through phases, watched it for a while and then didn't for a while. I think I picked back up when Tommy Rich was hot. Tommy Rich was the rookie sensation, man, and him and Buzz Sawyer were having knockdown, drag out matches, and that was a big thing in Georgia. Was Tommy Rich and Bess Watley and Buzz Sawyer, and so I was getting into that. Of course, and the Andersons, Ole and Gene Anderson. And then there was another little phase where I kind of lost it, and then I think that was when I was really pushing, getting into the college wrestling, and then of course then when I got back into it, I was actually getting into it myself when I picked back up. So,
what was the training like? Were there any times where they tried to make you quit or
with Jerry?
Yeah.
No, man, Jerry. No, if you came in and see where he was going to train you and you still wanted to stay there, you were right. He had like horsehair mats in the back room of his weight room, of his gym. And we'd get there, pull all these little horsehair mats together. one practice, I mean, he didn't have to try to run you off. If you could, take hip tosses and arm drags and slams on these horsehair mats. The only training was once a week too. Today I think most schools go 2 or 3 times, some of them 5 days a week, but it was every Saturday, for a couple hours. It wasn't that bad. But really, in a sense, I mean, because your body, kind of adjusts to getting bounced around after a couple of days, you're used to it. This was just enough to go Saturday and get really sore for a week, and it just soreness be gone away, and you start back, you bounce around again. So, but his was, and nothing against Jerry, I like Jerry, but it wasn't the cleanest thing either. I don't think he ever cleaned the mats off, or, there were rips in them, and if you, try to actually run and do what, a spot running, and there was no ropes, it was on the floor. It was not a ring, it was just on the floor. So if you wanted to act like you were hitting the ropes, just run and stop on your own and come back running, you had these tears you had to step through and hope you didn't twist an ankle. But no, Jerry is a solid, he was a real old school. And that's about all he taught was old school stuff, wrist lock and hammer locks and headlock takeover and arm drag and hip toss and slam. That's about it. Once you learned that, he was ready to ship you off.
It sounds like, a lot of the stuff that you did was a lot of flying stuff and using the ropes. Where did you start to learn to pick up that kind of stuff? That was
just once I got to Kansas City, which was where Central States there was based out of. They had of course they had a ring there, so I got to get in the ring. We'd always go to shows early, when we get to the Shawn thing. Well, I'd always go to the arena early. I think there were Thursdays or the day for Kansas City. If we had to be there at, say, 7, I'd be there at 5 o'clock to get in the ring and, visualize things I could do, because sometimes I'd be the only one in the ring. And then some of the other guys, when they come out and do the same thing, when they mess around, then we'd try some things. So it was basically learn as you went kind of thing. Because, if you ever seen some of the matches from back then in the Kansas City days, you could tell, the progression, it was just must have picked up along the way, because they didn't do, it was like headlocks, arm drags, hip tosses, slams, just like Jerry taught for so long. And then maybe I picked up a drop kick or something, or something that came off the mat as we went along. And basically, but that was the biggest way. Really never went to a school with a ring. So it was always learning as we went, hands on in the ring, in front of the crowd, do a move you haven't done before. First of all, hope you ain't gonna hurt the guy you're working with, because you're doing something you haven't done. And secondly, embarrass the hell out of yourself in front of the crowd, because you're gonna try something new. But that was basically how we learned to go there early.
Back in the Central States, when you were first really learning this stuff, were there any veterans that were particularly helpful to you, or maybe even on the other end of the spectrum tried to hold you back?
I don't think anyone tried to hold us back. When I was lucky. I was very lucky when I got in there. They were wanting to put a tag team together right away. I think Rock and Roll Express was established and a hot item, and so they wanted the same kind of thing, a young team that had the flashy stuff dangling off of them, and for whatever, for teeny boppy girls type thing. Tommy Rogers, which not the Tommy Rogers of the Fantastics, is actually, I think it's Tommy Lane, but they call him Tommy Rogers, was out there, and they right away wanted to team us up, and gave us the name of the Uptown Boys, which I don't know where the hell they came up with that, but and like I say, it was sort of because the Rock and Roll Express had the little legging things, and so Uptown Boys had little legging things, and Rock and Roll Express had little handkerchiefs tied everywhere, and the Uptown Boys had the same thing. I really didn't even realize at first, because somebody told me. I said, the Rock and Roll Express I had missed until I got into the business. I didn't see them before. So when we were doing all that, and somebody brought, I think, a magazine or a picture, and said, "This is what you guys are rip-offs." And I looked at it, oh man, the hell, And but the grapplers, which was Linda and Tony, is it Tony Anthony, who was Dirty White Boy, wrestled after so long. Were as a grapplers under master, they were great, man. And we were lucky and fortunate enough to have them be the guys to because Tommy was new too. I think he'd probably been in business 6 months when he was out there. So the both of us got to learn from these guys. Glenn Denton was great. I mean, absolutely, it was perfect for us. And they were able to, they were very patient with us. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. They would sit down with us every night after the show, after a match, and okay, you guys, this is what you should have done. this is what you shouldn't have done. Jannetty, I don't know why the hell you did that, or whatever. But it was very patient, and I mean, we learned a ton from them. And we spent, I think we worked with them for about 4 or 5 straight months. And like I said, I thank them even today, because I mean, they were necessary at that point. That was the foundation was being laid, and it was through them. After that, of course, we went on to started wrestling singles. Tommy, there was a guy out there named Buzz Tyler. Tommy and Buzz took off and went to the Carolinas, and so I started wrestling singles. And then Bulldog Bob Brown was I actually tagged us up a couple of times. Bulldog was I think he was probably in his mid-40s. Seemed like old back then, but now he's not old at all. He was older than I was, I'll put it that way. And I always felt kind of funny tagging with him because I was young. I mean, he was very young. Very young. And he had, besides him being in mid-40s, his hairstyle and clothes and everything was 1940ish. So, I mean, he looked even older than what he actually was. So they had me, this young guy who was dressed in the rock and roll hip thing, with the older guy who dressed, with that buzzsaw haircut and 1950, 40 stuff. I wasn't comfortable with it, but Bulldog Bob Brown was very knowledgeable. Wasn't so much wasn't very athletic, but he had very good knowledge of what to do psychology-wise, how to do things, get the most out of doing the least, basically. And so, I mean, I learned a whole lot from tagging with him a little while. And then, of course, we did the turn, worked against him for quite a while, and learned quite a bit from him. Remember Rufus R. Jones? Rufus actually was somebody I watched when I was little. Yeah. And so when he came through the Central States area, I was like, that was the first person I actually got to meet that I knew from my kid days. And I was like, oh, wow. And then Rufus was very knowledgeable. I mean, Rufus knew this business was about entertainment. Back then, I mean, everybody, I think, pretty much was into make them believe it's real. Really crank up on the arm bar. The head like squeeze. The people got to see. Rufus knew it was about entertainment, and I learned quite a bit from Rufus. We traveled together, and Rufus was a great guy. But he really taught a lot. He really taught, like I said, the entertainment aspect of it. Everybody else already was telling us how to do the techniques of making it look like a shoe. But Rufus was teaching how to wiggle your ass, or the right time to do this, or put just a simple thing you would say. It was like just with some of the new guys who said just a simple letter in your name. So you said, if you're Rufus Jones, Rufus R. Jones. Just one letter makes a big old difference, and it makes sense. I mean, little silly things like that. I mean, he was good with. So learned quite a bit from Rufus. Loved Harley Race, man. Harley was of course, that was him and Gagne owned the territory. Harley's Harley's a legend, man. He's just a legend. And I've seen, you can hear Harley stories all day and wonder if they're true. I mean, I've seen some of them, and I don't doubt any of them that I hear because of the ones I've seen. But I really respected the hell out of him because he really, you talk about making believe it's real. One of the things he did to impress the hell out of me, I remember he had a strap match with, I think it was Sheik. What was it? Sheik Abdullah. But it was like, I don't know if anybody, this guy was from Portland. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But they had the strap match to the thing, and he had his family. Harley's family was there. Some family from out of town. He had a lot of friends, a lot of guests there. They had the strap match, and as it was over, I remember being in the dressing room and I was hearing, now this was Harley's done with his match. He was just in the shower, which was kind of locked up. I remember I was getting dressed and I'm hearing, and I'm thinking, what the hell? What's going on? And, Harley's a badass too. So I don't want to invade his privacy, especially being how he's in the showers. So, I mean, I'm curious as hell to, is he beating the shit out of Sheik? Is he mad? What happened? Of course, the Sheik's dressing room would be on the other side, so I had to drop my shoe off, pick my shoe up, and looked over, and he was sitting there with his strap and just beating himself. And I was like, Harley, what the hell's wrong with you? He goes, that cocksucker. But at strap matching, he wasn't even hit me. I got no marks. I can't go home and my family see that. He was putting marks on himself because of the strap match. He didn't want, and I mean, I don't know if it should impress me, but it did impress me. I was like, wow. I mean, that's, wanting to, just, what do you call it, protect the business.
Yeah.
Not to mention the interviews he used to do where he'd have a little cut from where he gigged a show the night before, and he'd get on interviews and start beating it till it was hanging open. I mean, right on camera. I mean, he did some crazy stuff, but a lot of respect for Harley. I really like him and to his style. I mean, he was solid. If you ever watched him work, man. He's another guy could get a ton out of so little. Because he doing just everything at the right time, so methodical. Trying to think who else was out there learning.
Going back just real quickly, your time at everybody that you learned from and everything, was the emphasis back then on less is more or the psychology of it, or when did people start getting into, oh well, here's a new move to do? Was there any kind of emphasis on trying to create new moves?
I think there, until we went up to the AWA, I think there it was less is more. I mean, the big Sonny Myers, who was a referee, was very good about teaching us, you throw punches, and was a punch meaning in the match? If you threaten, and then you finally throw that punch, people go crazy because they want you. They really did. They stressed the less is more. They don't do so much stuff. But at the same time, I mean, I think it was coming around to where they had to move on from that. They could only go for so many years. Yeah. And I guess that'd probably been the style for the last 30 years up to then. But that was good for that's all. At my point in my career there, it was first year in the business, and I would even, that's different today. I'd say today, the basics were all that was, just get that down solid. And so I think that was good. I think it was good that it was that way.
Okay. What any memories of Gypsy Joe back then?
Gypsy Joe, there was actually a couple good ones, a couple bad ones. One of the bad memories I have of Gypsy Joe. Gypsy Joe impressed me because he was like 50-something years old, and he was taking bumps off the top rope, bouncing around like a human Super Bowl, which, at 50, whatever he was, 53, 54 years old, I was like, wow, But one of the things I was kind of really almost, we almost got into it, Joe and I. One of my buddies from the Jerry Oates they trained, he's a big black guy named Tom Ivey. He probably weighed 300 pounds. And he wrestled in college too, the same junior college I went to. He's a good athlete. Big, probably 300 pounds of muscle. Gypsy Joe was a little guy. Gypsy was about 180 maybe, about 5'9". But Thomas come out. Thomas was scared to death. His first trip out there to Kansas City. And his first night, and Thomas he already, even at school, even, the days back at home at school, couldn't remember the spots that didn't even include ropes, just grab a hammerlock, reverse, get the headlock, take me over, kick out. I mean, he'd forget those spots. I mean, he just wasn't, some guys like that. Can't remember, a spot. So, never scared to death. They put him with Gypsy Joe. Gypsy's style was, rock 'em, sock 'em, beat the hell out of him type thing in the crowd, the chairs, the tables, I think Gypsy did a lot of stuff in Mexico and Puerto Rico where they did all that. So that was his style, but no, Thomas didn't know that. I didn't really know that then. But I mean, it just got to where when Thomas was scared to death, first match, Gypsy Joe, and he missed I think Gypsy, which to me, it didn't seem like a very smart spot to call from Gypsy Joe. Gypsy gave him a tackle, which, Gypsy 180 pounds is 300-pound man. How come you're knocking him down anyway in the spot? I mean, it shouldn't be the other way around. He gave Thomas a tackle, and Thomas went down like in sitting position, and Joe went hit the other ropes, and Thomas just stayed there. He blanked out. He just looked like a big bear ape, just sitting, looking straight ahead, like blinked out, and then he panicked because he went blank and just froze. And then Joe got mad and started putting. I mean, I'm watching it. I'm just thinking, wow, that looks pretty stiff, because he was kicking the hell out of him. And then they got him out to the floor. And Thomas could probably snapped his neck if he wanted to, but Thomas was, this is a veteran. He's just trying to, do what he's supposed to do. And Joe was thinking this big guy's a pussy, you know, because he ain't fighting back. So Joe started getting on more. I mean, it got to where I could tell that he punted him one time just right in the side of the face. And I mean, it was obvious. I was thinking, man, Thomas, don't take that shit. Don't do something. Then Joe got a chair, which, you know, that was one of his things, but he got a chair and was just wearing out Thomas with it. I mean, he busted him open like the hard way in a couple places. You know, Thomas was bleeding everywhere. And, you know, like I said, when Thomas, again, I mean, that's how tough Thomas was, though. I mean, he getting opened up and he was just like, I deserve it because I'm messing up the match, you know, where I think a lot of guys would just got up and put Joe to sleep, you know, permanently. But, yeah, and when it came to the dressing room, Thomas started crying because he, you know, he was upset that he did so bad. And, you know, he was crying, his blood, you know, he wasn't crying because he got beat up, he was crying because he screwed the match up. But, you know, everybody else had to appear that he was crying because he got beat up. And I remember losing it and going over to Joe's dressing room and you know, screaming at him, grabbing him. And he was, I got to teach the kid a lesson. You fuck up the match. You fuck up the match. That ain't the way to do it. I mean, and I always do too. I mean, you know, so I'm thinking, okay. So was that what happens when you screw up a match and get the shit beat out of us? But yeah, that was. But overall, I like Gypsy, but that was the one bad thing I saw out of it.
Was there ever a time in the early days where one of the veterans tried to beat you up? Or take advantage of you like that?
No, I've screwed up a few matches, but I don't think I was lucky enough that I can't remember any of them. There was a rookie who screwed me over once. His name was Scott Hall. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, why not?
Well, Scott, I think, got caught up in, and this was Scott and Danny.
Was this in Central States?
Yeah.
Okay.
They brought them in as the American Starship or something like that, and they were bad. They were impressive. Scott was whatever he is, 6'5", you know. Then he was like 285 pounds and was just ripped. Spivey was about 6'7", 6'8", you know, built good. Scott was more, you know, to see. Danny was just huge.
Yeah.
And when they brought them in as a team, we were all like, "Oh my God, look at these giants!" And you know, it was the partying days. DJ Peterson or Dave Peterson, who went as DJ Peterson, one of Rufus's suggestions. DJ Peterson. Shawn and I always we used to just party crazy, and a lot of hotel problems. You know, there would be a lot of room damages. We'd often get our checks to see minuses for hotel repairs and damages, you know. And there was a particular night that DJ and I got a room, and DJ went and checked in, and we came out, got the room, had a lot of wild women over. Had a lot of people over, as a matter of fact, and the room ended up like one of those rooms that's going to cost us a little bit. I mean, it was all. It wasn't nothing, you know, punching holes in the wall kind of thing. It was just a couple of beer bottles thrown against the wall or something. You know, the beds. We had so many people in there that needed to lay down with the girls that they were with. We had to take the beds off so everybody had a bed. It was just, you know, this was a mess. You know, a couple broken things, but as it turned out, so the next day it was a Wednesday. Because I know it was the next day was a Thursday. Which was Memorial Hall, Kansas City. I was still hungover. So I was laying on the table in the dressing room, which, you know, any of the boys know me who've seen that quite a bit over the years. I was taking a little nap before, you know, getting that last bit of energy before the match. And I remember laying across the table 1 minute, and the next minute I remember being on my hands and knees on the floor. And just like hearing screaming, like, well, get out of here, stop it. And I'm looking up, and all the guys in the dressing room, in the babyface dressing room, all the guys are looking at me, just staring at me, like, and I'm looking at like, what? And I turn, I see Scott Hall going out the door, you know, like in a rage, like slams on, fuck it, he says, you know. And I'm like, well, what's going on? What's happening? And DJ come here while he looked in the mirror. And he picked me up, and I'm like, what am I doing for? And the table was knocked over. So I looked in the mirror, and my lip was right here, split. It was half over here, half here. There's a big gash in here. This was hanging open. And I'm like, what's all this? And they said, he just came and started punching you while you were sleeping on the table.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, he'll tell you that. I mean, so.
Why did he do that?
Well, at that point, man, I mean, I was still maybe so numb from when he knocked the hell out of me, or still half asleep. I mean, I wanted to go find out right then. And I remember picking up a pipe about this big and heading over to this. It was like a stage that went to the other dressing room, the Hills dressing room. And I remember going across and where's Scott? Trying to. I couldn't hardly talk. My lips hanging. And Geigel and Bulldog Bob Brown grabbed me and said, no. I said, no. So you're just going to get hurt more. He said, just no. And they held me back and took me to the hospital. I could get stitched up and all. Well, the next night was St. Louis and Kiel Auditorium. And that was the big, I mean, Kansas City area, I mean, so shows. Kiel Auditorium was always 10, 12,000 people. Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich was always like the main event, and big show. That was a big thing. And there I am, stitched up. I was loving to perform in front of a crowd like that at that time. And I'm stitched up and I'm sore. And I remember Scott Hall. I'm not even thinking about nothing but just what am I going to do? And I seen Scott Hall coming. And I'm thinking, oh shit, what's going to happen here? And Scott walks right up to me and he goes, man, I guess you want to go round and round now, aren't you? And I thought, well, no, just one more round, but no, can I rest first? Can I heal first? And he's like, he put his arm around me. I thought he was sorry to hit me. And he's like, man, I'm so sorry. He goes, I know I got worked. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, what he told me was when DJ had signed in the hotel, I guess he'd signed in Scott Hall's name because we got discounts for wrestling. The DJ wasn't known.
Yeah.
And just, he had a mustache like Scott, curly hair. But Scott's hair actually he had it light. I mean, maybe that's why he thought whatever DJ had signed in as Scott Hall got the discount for the room because we had to be, like I said, for the wrestlers at that place, they gave a discount. Well, Scott said that they told him I did that. So that Marty went and signed your name and destroyed the room on purpose, trying to get you fired. And I said, who told you that? So I didn't even sign in, first of all. He goes, well, Bulldog told me that. So Bulldog called me. And, with that, I was like, now I'm going to get hot towards Bulldog.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, man, I didn't sign your name. And I didn't even know DJ did. I said, I didn't sign your name on nothing. But DJ had overheard it come by. I said, no, it was me. And he goes, and he told him why. I said, it was just getting a discount. He goes, it wasn't on purpose to get you in trouble. Scott, he again apologized. He goes, man, they worked me. And he said, Bulldog, you said I needed to do that to you. And that really got me. So now I'm going to get that pipe and go find Bulldog. and actually, I mean, I did, not the pipe. I don't think it would need it for Bulldog. But I went looking for him. I mean, I was kicking all the doors in, killed auditorium, all these different dressing rooms, and slamming the door. Where is it? Where's Bulldog? And Harley grabs me. Come here, kid. And he put that grip in my wrist, and I was like, no, oh, okay. I was like, that's not right now. I mean, Harley's just, he can't. It's like a damn, when a cock's strong, wrong, probably never been in a gym. It doesn't matter. He's stronger than anybody. And he got me, pulls me in the room. Come in here. What's the matter, kid? I was like, Bulldog, man. He's the one that had Scott do this to me. And he goes, that don't sound right. So that's Scott just told me how the whole thing happened. And I want to go take care of this right now, Harley. I said, if you would do the same thing. He goes, let me look at it, kid. I'll find out it's true. I'll take care of it myself. I don't like this shit. He says, so I'm thinking, well, Harley, I don't want you to take care of what for me. He goes, don't worry about it. Just settle down, go back, have your match. I'll take care of it. He didn't ever do shit because I Bulldog, nothing ever became of it. And I just had to swallow that one. I just had to eat that one. That ass whooping. Not that, I don't know if I'd have whooped Scott Hall's ass anyway, but the pipe might have done his job, Not the smoking pipe. Sorry, but I said that was nothing ever became of that. Just kind of let that ride. Yeah. But that was the only, you were saying any veterans or anybody ever, that was the only thing that ever really bad. Well, that was pretty bad too. Then you know what? Later, I still had to go on. I think I was opening match that night.
Yeah.
And my lips were stitched together, and I got stitches in mine. And I can't remember who the hell I worked with, but I told them, just be careful, man. Just don't, the punches or headlocks, just be careful. I'm still sore. That son of a bitch got me in a rear chin lock, reaches in and pulls my damn lips. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm sorry. Like, first thing he does. No, I don't remember who it was, but I never forget that.
How did you and Scott Hall get along after that?
Good. I mean, it was hard. I mean, you got to imagine. I mean, I just got a hell of an ass whooping.
Yeah.
And here's a big ass guy who gave me that ass whooping. Could at least woke me up first. I mean, he did it. I mean, he come in. I guess they said he started punching me and kicking me. And once I fell off the table, kicking me, I'm asleep. It was. I was, when he came and apologized, it was just, it was like, well, and then he told me what the whole story was. It was still hard to swallow. I mean, because that's an ass whooping. An ass whooping, I never forgot about it. And I just figured, in my own mind, I just thought, if anything ever else, there'll be an excuse down the road. If something else goes wrong, this is, but for now, I'm gonna let it go. And that was it was really a hard thing to do.
What was Bob Geigel like?
I love Bob, man. He's great. He's a character, man. He's one of the funniest guys. He's always keep you laughing. He's different, He's got his own thing going on, but so solid guy. I really love Bob. He had a way of, when things were bad, he'd just come by and say one or two things and make you feel better, and or if you were riding too high, he'd say the right things to get you back down. And Bob was eccentric. He was definitely a character. Good guy, super guy.
Okay. Then you ended up going over to All Japan in 1985.
That was Harley hooked me up with that one. Okay. I was wanting to go over there. I heard so much about it. That's why I mentioned Harley. And Harley was. I get on Harley stories. I'll be here for a while. And he's don't worry, kid, I'll get you right over there. And like the next tour, he was over there. It was funny, man. It was my first, I was nervous, because I've been in the business 1 year, and then I'm over here in Japan. And the first night I was in a 6-man tag, my first match over in Japan. On one side was Dory Funk, Terry Funk, and I think it was Baba. 3 world champions. On my side was Harley Race, and who else was it? It was another world champion. So there was 5 world champions and me. And who do you think, who's going to get the hell beat out in that one? But I just remember, oh my God, there's all world champions here. Can't remember who else was with me, Harley. And was it? It was another, whoever it was, maybe it was one of the Japanese guys. It was 5 out of the 6,000 world champions. 5 world champions and 1 scrub. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody knows who he is. But that was just interesting when it started out. But this style, man, wow. I mean, Harley said, kid, just keep your mouth shut and watch and listen and learn. And so I had no choice. I couldn't understand what the hell they were saying anyway. And their style was so different. I mean, Jerry Oates had told me when he was breaking in, he goes, you ever get to go to Japan? Because Jerry he was been over in Japan for a while. He got to go work many tours. And he said, if you ever get the chance to go to Japan, you'll notice they're like 10 years ahead of us. What you see them doing 10 years from now, we'll be doing it here. So, and in a sense, it was kind of true. I mean, what they were doing then was 10 years later. I mean, their pace was just bang, 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 bang. It wasn't, grab a hole, work a spot out of back. It was just constant bang, bang, bang. And it was kind of rough. It was rough. I mean, they beat the hell out of you. And see it too, me being new over there, I didn't know that you take what you get. If you don't take it, you don't get anything. Yeah. They'll eat you up. They'll guzzle you. I mean, until you do your own thing. I'm over there the first 4 or 5 days. Harley told me, kid, Jesus Christ, do something. I said, well, what though? He said, don't hit him, punch him, do something. Because I mean, I was waiting for them to tell me to do something, because first year in the business, I'm being led by everybody. That ain't happening in Japan. You just do what you can get, or they'll eat you up. And so finally, after Harley told me, he said, they're not going to call it a spots, kid. And started doing things like, the first one I punched the guy, and he actually stopped hitting me. I went, wow, it works. I picked up and slammed him, and got excited, and I think that was enough. The other guy come running and nail me from behind and stop me from me down. But yeah, I'll tell you what, real quick while we're on it, the Harley story. I love this. You know, Harley, you hear, you know, everybody's been around the business, there's Harley stories. We were in a restaurant eating over there, and it was probably midway through the tour, starting to get run. That was a 4-week tour. It was, and we worked every day. It was 28 days. So I think we had actually one day off in the middle, and so it was 27 out of 28 days we worked. And it was about the middle of it, going to the second half. We were kind of run down. And, you know, who was over there? Me, Harley Race, Tim Horner. Remember Tim Horner, White Lightning? Tim Horner was over there. I think Kerry Von Erich was there. What's his name? Killer Brooks, Tim Brooks. Killer Brooks. We're all sitting in a restaurant eating. And at this restaurant we're at, they were shooting in a small town. They what do you call it, marked off the area where they're going to film. So they're making a gangster movie, one of the Japanese gangster movies. And we're inside the restaurant. They're telling us at certain times we need y'all to be real quiet because we're going to be filming here. So the lady comes in, it's a big star, the Japanese movie star, and she notices the wrestlers. And she like looks at Kerry Von Erich. I guess, you know, maybe because they were on ESPN. TV. She knew who Kerry Von Erich was. She went up, oh, I love you. I watch you all the time. She went up to who else? Tim Brooks, which would have been off, you know, that thing. I said, oh, I love you. Yeah, you're Tim Brooks. Went over to Tim Horner, who was off of Georgia Championship Wrestling. Great. Tim, how you doing? Tim had, if you remember, way back in the day, had got a pinfall on Hawk, and I think it was a singles match. It had to be a singles. You got a pinfall on Hawk, and he was like a big hero over there in Japan because the Road Warriors were monsters. And this guy got a pinfall on. So she was going off about that. Oh, you beat Hawk. You beat that Road Warrior Hawk. You know, she's hitting all these guys. Now, here's me and Harley sitting over here. Harley's a legend. She walks up and looks at him. She goes, I don't know who you are. And I was like, oh my God. and he didn't say a word. He just looked at her in his face. Harley don't say a whole lot when he was hot. But his face got red. And he just kept eating. And so then they were like, and Harley too, keep in mind, all these people from the town are coming up to watch the film. Harley was, you know, not that he won't sign autographs, but, you know, he was tired. He wouldn't sign this day. So, you know, they're telling us, okay, it's a countdown. Be quiet, fellas. And Harley elbows me inside. Watch this, kid. We'll see who the star is. So they count down and they start filming. 3, 2, 1, all right, go. And what they're supposed to do, this lady's walking out the front doors of the place with somebody in arm, and there's like a limo, gangster limo drivers and all this out the front. Well, there's their hooking arms and getting ready to walk to the front door. Harley gets up, come on, kid, come with me. And go to the front door, opens up. Now, we're not supposed to be moving, but Harley just goes anyway, opens the front doors. And all the people there are from the little town there, they see Harley, and he stands in there, and they just start going crazy. Harley, all these Japanese people, probably about 300 people surrounding him, saying, Harley, Harley. And he just kind of looks at me. Goes staggering down to the gate, and starts signing autographs. They're like, God, what the hell is going on? Who's that? I remember standing right next to Harley. He turns, he looks at me, goes, who's the star now, Eddie? It's disrupted their whole filming thing. But that's just one of Harley. There's a billion Harley stories.
Who did you learn the most from in Japan as far as Japanese wrestlers go?
There was a Tiger Mask, a guy called Tiger Mask. That's where when I saw him, I really started liking that high flying, flips, crazy twists, turns, jumping off a rope, sideways stuff. And I had to work with him one match, and I was amazed at how the stuff he did. It was so light. I mean, I never forget. Because, you know, the guys I'd been working with up to that time, even, you know, the first year I visited up in Kansas City, they were, and, you know, snug. And they didn't do a whole lot of stuff. And here's this guy that does crazy stuff, and it's just barely feeling. And it was impressive as hell. So after I worked with him that once, I mean, I watched all of his matches and writing notes like, how the hell did he do that? I mean, I was trying to just some of it I didn't know how to write it down. So what did he just do? He just went to the top rope, flipped over, but held on and just, I don't know what the hell, I tried to draw pictures and diagrams when he did. So I go back and practice it, but Tiger Mask would have been it for me.
So that's when you first started seeing the high flying stuff.
Yeah, when I saw him do that, that was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Were there any guys on the Japanese side that you didn't like working?
Ricky Toshi, I think it was in. Not didn't like him. He just chopped so damn hard it hurt. No, they were all good.
Okay. What did you learn?
Ricky, whatever it was, he chopped too hard.
How did Giant Baba treat you? Did you deal with him much?
Yeah, he was in that one. I almost got in trouble with him because he was getting older and not quite as athletic as he might have been in his younger days. He's like what 7'4" or something. He had bring that big boot up. I mean, I don't know. I remember during that match with the 5 world champions, he shot me in and brought that boot up, and I come running hard, I almost knocked him over. And I remember, I didn't think much of it. I thought, shit, you shouldn't try to do that move. You can't do it. But then I looked over at Harley, just shaking his head at me. Jesus, kid. Knocking down a legend. But Bob was cool. I mean, he's a super nice guy, man.
How come you didn't go over to Japan more?
I wouldn't know.
Did you do a lot of tours back then?
Let's see. I did. Well, that was my first one, and then we went with WWF like 2 or 3 tours. I went with one, and I don't remember who the heck it was with. I think Pat Tanaka might even set that one up for me. But yeah, I loved it over there. I mean, I love working over there. I love the culture over there. Now though, I mean, there's with some of the styles over there, the shoot fight styles. I don't think I could do that. Not at this point in my career. I need to save whatever I got left. But Tanaka tried to get me to go here. Pat Tanaka he wanted me to go about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. He said, I love Pat to death. Pat's like my best friend. But it's real hard to tell when he's telling the truth or not. I think if you were listening to Pat talk all day long, he might accidentally slip some truth in somewhere, and it's just hard to figure out when that was, But he told me he was booking for him over there, and so he was going to get me over, and he was going to give me this large amount of money. I think it was like $5,000 a week for a 4-week tour, which I was, okay, I need the money, let's do it. And then he called me back. He says, I just brought Chris Candido over, and he was all messed up. Sorry about that, Chris. I'm just telling you what Pat said. It's probably not true anyway. but he said, I just brought Chris over, and he was all messed up. And so now the heat's on me. So don't tell him I called you, said you can come over here, send a tape. So now we're in WWF and everything else in the world now. Send a tape to whoever he gave me a name. And I was thinking, well, send a tape to WrestleMania 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Survivor Series, all these things, SummerSlams, send a tape. He goes, well, there's some new guys. He goes that aren't really involved with wrestling. They bought the company. They may not know who you are. And they I don't think they knew who Pat was. What the deal was, but. It was funny. I didn't end up going because I figured Pat. I just like, you know what? Damn it, Pat.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was just say Pat. I told Pat the only one of the drawbacks I didn't want to go over there for that 4-week thing is so which company are you working with and what style are they doing that kick ass style or are they working? And he goes, it's a little of each. So I was like, damn man, let's see, 4 weeks. He says you'll work 5 times a week. So he's 20 matches or whatever it was. I remember him. I didn't end up saying that's a lot. That's a lot. They're going to be putting the boots to us pretty hard. And I remember he was like, "No, it'll be fine." But they ended up doing it. About 3 weeks later, he called me. He was back in Tampa. He had shattered his shoulder blade. So somebody tried to superplex him or something off the top rope. I just threw him some certain way and landed and shattered his shoulder blade. Which may be true, maybe not. I don't know. but I mean, that's why I didn't want to go, Pat. That's the very reason.
Any good stories about the Funk Brothers from back in like the 80s with All Japan?
Terry was amazing to watch because I mean I think he brought out the best of everybody he worked with. That was something different too. Over in Japan, you couldn't do in the United States. You get sued right out. Over there, you can smack the fans, and Terry would go right through. A lot of them did. It was Tiger Jitsing. He had a little sword. He'd walk through and just whack the hell out of people. Stan Hansen had a rope with a bell, and if they didn't get out of the way, he'd nail the hell out of them with that bell and that rope. And Terry Funk too, and he'd come right through the middle and just throw the chairs everywhere. And that people, it was like Godzilla coming through. Everyone, oh, and they just I'd scoot out, leave, take off running, and I was so intrigued with that. I was like, wow. And I told Harley, I said, can I do that? He looks at me. He's just kind of giggling. Harley, you can't get Harley to laugh. I seen him smile, almost smile once. And I said, Harley, why don't you ever smile? And he looked at me and says, the last time I smiled, kid, cost me $250,000. What? It's my ex-wife. So you see, you just can't get a smile out of him. And but this one, when I asked him, could I go through? Hey, can I do that too? Can I go through when I go to the ring? And he just looked at me, kind of got a little bouncy. So I should have known right then and there that meant something. And he said, "Go ahead, kid." The next day, like I said, when they come through, when they go through the middle of the chairs, people scatter. And they chase them as people run from them. It's funny as hell. So I'd go right through the chairs, no, they wouldn't even get up out of the way from me. They wouldn't give me the chair and fight me back from the chair. Nobody ran, nobody moved. Oh, damn. I had to go back around. I'm sorry, y'all, I didn't even mean that. Just went around and go up down like I was supposed to. And that's when I knew, like, damn, Harley. Could have told me.
How did you first end up meeting Shawn Michaels?
In Kansas City. I think I'd been there 6 months. And he'd come through. That's right. I think right after Tommy and I, Tommy and him split up or took off. Shawn came in for a short stint. Right off the bat, Terry Garvin, if you all remember, Terry Garvin was sort of like keep an eye on Shawn. I think Shawn was coming in with high expectations. I mean, he was really seems like his road's paved the whole way. They were looking out for him right away. They heard so much, whatever. And I remember Terry Garvin asking me if me and DJ would kind of give him rides to take care of him because we were like probably younger guys that got out and about. And Shawn, I'll never forget the first time we were like, well, who is this guy? Why is he getting? What's he all about? Why is he got? We got everybody here's taking care of him and. Terry Garvin's making a special road trip down there. He had to work with Scott Hall, his first night in, and which Scott was still real green then, and so Shawn was actually going to end up leading that match, and that was going to be something to see. And as it turned out, it was real good, real well. But we were just like, well, who's this guy Shawn? What the heck's this all about? Why is he getting all his attention coming through here? A lot of guys have been in and out, and nobody's had this. And so I don't remember what town it was, somewhere in Kansas, in a little town. And DJ and I were asking, okay, where's this Shawn guy? Because we've been asked to show him around, show him the ropes. And remember went up to this one guy who I thought was probably like what they would call jobbers or extras now, who I thought was like a local from that town. And I was asking him, hey, have you seen a guy named Shawn Michaels? He goes, I am Shawn Michaels. and he was, the reason I say we just thought it was just nothing against, I mean, he's a great guy. It was just the way he was dressed, man. He had these green trunks. He had, first as he was changing, he had blue jeans with a big old, probably Texas style belt buckle just pulled up so high, almost under his chest, and had his pants legs tucked inside his boots. He was, I think he was like, he was young, man, 19-ish or something. He still had that high school look, with short hair and just a clean cut, but it was just, it wasn't what we were expecting. We were expecting this wild, crazy, just flamboyant looking person, because of all the attention. And I remember when he put his outfit on, what he wore that night, he had some green, just single, what do you call them, regular tights. He had his habit of pulling him up like right in front of his chest. I don't know if he was trying to hide his belly, it wasn't fat or anything, but and he had the boots with the little leprechaun things on it. And like I said, the hair, just a clean short cut, just clean cut, whatever it was, not what we were expecting. But and we introduced ourselves, and we ended up hooking up. Me and him, and DJ, we just ended up being like the best friends. So we went out every night partying, going crazy, and with Shawn and I somewhere, and he was only there like maybe 6 weeks or something like that. I'm not sure how long he was there, but somewhere right about in the middle of it, they had us tag one night. They wanted him and I to tag. And
Who put you guys together?
I don't know. I mean, it was Terry Garvin, who was booking, but they tagged us up. They needed it was a TV tape, and they needed a tag match, so they tagged us up. It's hard just to tag with a guy one time and get everything correct. Timing wise, we tagged it. I remember we tagged at night, and afterwards we both kind of, wow, that was really nice. It was smooth. I mean, little as we know, but and so that was it. And then again, after that, I don't think we tagged anymore. It was just that once, but it was just for the very first time, it was just clicked. And but then after that, we partied for night after night after night. And like I said, me and him and DJ Dave Peterson were like the three musketeers, and we just always together hanging out, and doing crazy stuff, and watching Shawn transform, because that look was, the pants was finally getting lower down, and the hair was getting longer, and I don't know if it was a little later on that the earrings started coming around, but I mean, we were just watching the transformation of that guy we thought was what.
Any party stories from around that period you can tell us about?
Around that period, you know what? Shawn was underage. I know that because I don't know what age, maybe it was 21 for drinking then or whatever in Missouri. The one thing I do remember was Friday nights. Every other Friday night, in St. Louis. We had to go to St. Louis. And the Marriott Hotel there is where all the boys went. There was just so many women there. I was back in the day what they called the rats. I don't know if those exist anymore, do they?
Nope.
But Shawn was, I mean, like after the show, Marriott, man, it was like, you just take your pick, whichever girl you want. And Shawn couldn't get in. He couldn't because he was underage. So we also, too, a lot of guys, that were making a little more money would stay there at the Marriott and overnight. We were just end up trying to use somebody's room for a little while if we were going to do any business, and then drive back to Kansas City, which was like 3.5 hour drive. And remember, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, you weren't going to miss. If you went in the bar, you were going to use somebody's room or car or something. And, so we had to go. And Shawn was like, well, this ain't right, man. I can't go in. He'd have to wait. He'd wait downstairs in the lobby because he couldn't even go on the top floor. And we'd like sneak him a beer down here and there. About every 45 minutes. He's like, come on, guys, one beer every 45 minutes. Come on, Bruce. And I kind of felt sorry for him, but gosh, the power of those women had on us. One was crazy. It was a lot of crazy stuff. And I was thinking about this, when we were talking about, so we, this Marriott there in St. Louis, the airport Marriott. I was getting a heck of a plug right now, huh? It was the place, like I said, and some of the crazy things, now looking back then, I didn't think nothing of it. We used to go up to the rooms, and they opened the windows, and there's a ledge of about maybe this wide on each floor. I mean, right outside, each was like 12 floors, whatever it was. Every floor has right outside the windows. You can open the windows. Why anybody would want to do that? But I mean, you can open the windows and go sit down on the ledge out there and 12 floors up in the middle of the St. Louis night and just stare around at the lights and say, wow, hey, or do what some of us did and imagine going out there on that ledge. Like I said, it's maybe 3 feet long. There's nothing there to keep you. It's not a railing. It's just a ledge. and we'd be out there after drinking. Sometimes it would be no privacy in the room, so we'd go out there with a girl and carefully lay down on the ledge. And now I just the thought of thinking, if I looked over and seen the ground, I mean, I'd fall off just because I see that good. But I mean, we did that. I mean, it was a lot of, not just me, not just Shawn. I can't say what Shawn did back then because I think he might have been seeing somebody. So DJ Dave. There was a few of them, man. And I'll leave the rest of the names alone too. But there was a few of us out there. You know, I remember one time going out and just being so hammered and just, and you know, there's just no fear, which is really stupidity, you know, and luck that something bad didn't happen. But I remember being out on, it was like the corner, went out the window on this side with the girl and laying there, and I'm hearing the noise. I'm like, what the heck? I screwed up, peeked around the corner, and there was somebody else on the other side laying out there with a girl. And this was just, I mean, like I said, crazy, crazy stuff. And he was laying out on the ledge there with just a slightest strong wind, really. Blow you right over it.
Why did you end up leaving Central States?
Well, because Bob Geigel found out we were on that ledge there in Marriott. He told us to get the hell out of there. No, it was time. I was there. I'd been there for I think a year and a half, right about a year and a half. And you know, ESPN, AWA had, it was on ESPN, so there was national exposure there. I think I can't remember who contacted me. It was Greg Gagne, who it was that contacted me and wanted me to come up there. And yeah, I loved the Central States area so much, and Bob Geigel working for him. Harley was gone after a while, but I mean, I loved working for Geigel so much that I didn't really want to you know, hurt his feelings. You know, I wanted to stay loyal to him, but at the same time, we're talking about another level now. It's time to move on. And it was funny how I had no guarantees of what I would make. You know, an AWA. We knew he was going to bigger cities. You know, he was traveling. Everything basically, there were no flights in the Central States. Everything was a drive. Now going to AWA, you know, the booking sheet, there's stuff in San Francisco, Denver, Salt Lake, Chicago, Baltimore. So I mean, now we're branching out flying. So you know, you're going to make a little more money, a lot more money, really. But you know, and again too, like I said, national exposure now as compared to just the Central States area. It was time to fly. It's time to go. It's funny, for that year and a half that I was with Geigel, you know, you got whatever they give you for each house, you know, just all of a sudden, a last ditch effort, he came to me and said, "What if I give you $700 a week?" And all of a sudden, he can give me a guarantee now. I could never do that before. Okay, so that was a learning right there. It's like, oh, I see how this works, and I was very appreciative of it. But like I said, it was just time to go. You know, it was the next level. It was time to go.
Were there any talks about going to WWF or NWA instead of the AWA?
Going where?
Going to WWF or NWA instead of AWA? Yeah.
No, I mean, in fact, I didn't even know WWF really existed hardly. I mean, that's how oblivious I was. I was just so happy with the party and you know, like I said, Geigel, in fact, you know, my buddy DJ Peterson was a big influence too. That was probably my best friend, you know, ever. You know, he died. He got killed, motorcycle accident. Yeah, I think in '94. He was in WWF for a while. The rest of I think it was DJ Peterson. But, he was a big influence. I mean, he was a great friend, great person. Anybody that ever met him would tell you that. And you know, it was almost like that was one of the holdback. I mean, I almost didn't want to leave my buddy. I wanted to wait and, you know, try to get him to be able to go with me, which eventually he did come up. And I remember the night that was pretty much my last night. It was in Kansas City Memorial Hall. The night that Geigel says, "Hey, look, I can give you $700." You know, I was like, "Thanks, man, but you know, maybe you would have told me this before now, but I'm already, you know, committed up there now." That very night, man, we DJ and I were out celebrating, and this was the kind of thing that went on all the time there in the business in general. We were sitting in the place called the Capri Lounge, which was a lot of the boys stayed there. You know, they had a weekly or monthly rate for the boys, whatever. And I remember me and DJ were sitting at a table. And this was another place. Yeah, back then it was always what they call the rats, you know, thing. The Capri Lounge was just like that Marriott I was telling you in St. Louis. That was, I mean, you couldn't miss. I mean, I think you could miss even less here at this place because this was like a home base area too. So me and DJ were sitting at a table, They had like the bar and then the restaurant on one side, and the restaurant was actually closed, but we were sitting at a table closest to the lounge, and sitting there, me and one side DJ, we each had a girl with us, and we were kind of just not saying much, just sitting there. Bob Gagne comes walking by, stops, he looks, what's going on here? You guys are never this quiet. What have you girls done to them? And the girls, well, no, we're not crazy girls. We go to the college. We're college girls. I don't. So Guy goes, he's looking at me, and we're both just like this. We're not hardly saying much. We're not moving. And Guy goes, something's definitely wrong here. And so I was like, and he looks under the table, and each of us had a girl under there doing what they do. He goes, that's my boys. I knew that was. And he looks at the girls that knew what was going on, but they're just sitting there. He goes, you can never learn this in 4 years of college. I tell you that right now. And he walks off. But that's the kind of stuff that, me and DJ and a lot of guys, but, so it's like, damn, man, I didn't know it would be the same way up in AWA. I thought, oh, man, I'm going to miss this, But that was, and then that was it. The next day, I think, packed up and headed up to Minneapolis, moved up to Minneapolis.
Was it tough to tell Geigel you were leaving?
Yeah, because I liked him so much, and like I said, he was a great guy. The fact that he wanted me to stay there so much made me want to stay too,
Was there any talk of when you went to AWA doing singles, or were you coming in with the tag team with Shawn?
Well, I think they had in mind doing a Rock and Roll Express type thing, just like the Central States did. But I think they didn't know who they wanted to do it with. So when they brought me in, actually I was there 3 or 4 weeks, and I guess I was getting over fairly decent. I was scared to death, man, because I was like new guy, lowest on the totem pole, new guy. And also everybody was pretty plainly dressed. Let me see, wait a minute, where they had the Freebirds and Road Warriors. Other than them, I mean, here I was coming in with this tiger stripe, fur on the legs, as Shawn called it, and around the wrist, and the tiger shirt type thing, and headband, and everything, tiger stuff. So it sort of was, look, stuck out like a sore thumb going in there, and kind of everybody was checking out the new guy. What's his deal? So it was very nerve wracking, but it went pretty good. And about 3 or 4 weeks in, Greg Gagne pulled me aside. He goes, "We want to do a tag team. We want to create a tag team here for the teeny boppers," as he said. And he says, "You know who the Rock and Roll Express is?" At that point, I'm still oblivious. I'm like, yeah, I know of them. I don't know them. And I was actually, I don't even think I really was 100% sure. I knew what he was talking about, because it was a Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, and I just knew it was an Express. I didn't know for sure what he's talking about. But he said, we kind of want to do something like that. Is there anybody out there that you've met that you feel comfortable tagging with? And immediately, Shawn, because we tagged it once, and it was like that. And my immediate answer was yeah, it's going to be Shawn Michaels. And right as I said it, I thought about Dave. I was like, oh shit, I got Dave in here. But then again, I mean, Dave got in there anyway. But as soon as I said Shawn Michaels, Greg was like, oh yeah, we've heard a lot about him. Just like Kansas City. And they're like, yeah, that's good. That's good for us, and it works for us. You're real comfortable with that? Yeah. So we got a call. Now I want to tell you a little story that was kind of foreshadowed the entire career. If I would have just known, if I was just paid attention right then. We used to go to Vegas every third week at the Showboat and film. Curt Hennig was the greatest guy, man, in the world. I love him to death. He was, of course, his father. He learned the business from his father. So besides the wrestling, he knew the antics that went on behind the scene for the boys. Curt was like a leader. Scott Hall was up there. Scott had gone up there, and Curt. They were tagging Curt and Scott at the time, which was they had good chemistry together. But Curt was, even Scott's big old, Curt was like everybody followed him. Curt was the man that, what do we do here? How do we do it? What's the right way? What's the right way to do this, Curt? How do we party? Where do we party? What do we do? What do we say? Who do we rib? Who do we not rib? I mean, Curt was the man with the answers, you know. Kurt was a man's man. He was very cool. So we're out in the showboat. Like I say, every third week we do our TV tapings. It's like my second or third one before Shawn's coming in. And, you know, Curt was introduced me to the lady that owned the showboat, and she used to tell us, hey, if you play the slot machines, make sure you play the ones by the door. They're set to hit more because when people come in, we want to hear the ching, ching, ching. So, you know, Curt's like, it works. I do it all the time. So, Curt and I go over, it's about noon or something like that. Shawn's scheduled to fly in for the first time, coming in from Texas. He's scheduled to get in around 3:00. So straight into, I mean, I love the gamble, man, the blackjack tables and craps and the slots, which only because of that. I mean, I hate the slots other than the fact that if you find the ones by the door that are hot, I mean, you can do good. Anyway, sitting there playing on this one machine because it's right by the door and it's breaking even. And Curt's, and so assured me that he knew this was the area. This is it. This is the area you want to be in. So he's on one side and staying on this machine for a couple, 2-3 hours. That's pretty much about even. Maybe I'd get up about $15, $20 and then get down to nothing, maybe down 10 and hit something. It was just, I just knew it was kind of just getting close to hitting a good one. 3 hours worth of play that Shawn walks up and he's like, okay, what are we wearing? What are we wearing? He wants to see, he's all excited. He's like the casino, the lights flashing, bells ringing, whistles, and, you know, everything's going off and he's all, you know, excited about that, but he wants to see the outfits. Let's go see the outfits. Let's see the outfits. So we tell Curt, so we'll see him in a little bit. We'll go up to the room. It was right there. The hotel was all one in the casinos. We go up to the room and I had on the bed, had the leggings, you know, fur legging things laid out. All of mine and his, both sets. Everything was made out of, as he called it, fur. But it was a cloth, you know, some kind of cloth with it. But, you know, the wristbands, the headbands, the ties, the belt, everything was black, white, tiger, or zebra, whatever you want it to be. And the shirt was a black, white print, zebra print, or animal print, whatever. And then he walks in the door and he looks, he goes, oh my God, we're wearing that? I said, no, man, it's not bad, I promise. I mean, I've been doing it here and everybody's. He goes, oh my God. He runs and grabs the phone and he calls his mother right away. He says, Mom, these guys wearing fur everywhere. That's the first thing. He was so disappointed. I mean, I had to assure him, no, it'll be okay. I promise it'll be all right. He was so upset. But once we got past that, he's like, okay, let's go gamble. Let's go down and gamble. So how do I do this? How do I do it? What do I do? What do I do? He'd never been in it. You know, he didn't know what to do. So we downstairs, and I want to go right back in my machine. So let's play the slots. That's easy. Just the coins in and pull. That's the easiest one. Start with that. So we go down, and some lady was on my machine. I'm gonna get her that one. I'm waiting on that one. Okay. So Curt's like, Jannetty, come over here and take over mine. I don't want to. I've been playing for it. So he takes off, and I go play his. You know, keep it going, try to get that. And I'm waiting for the lady to leave. I'm gonna get on mine. So I'm gonna pull once. I see the lady walk off. I'm like, all right. I look over now. Shawn has stepped in there, he's putting coins in. I'm like, all right. Then you can ask Shawn, this is true. He pulls some bitch one time. Ding, 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 ding. Lights, bells, whistles. He hit the 777s. One damn pull. Curt come run over. He goes, that's not right. You got to get half that Jannetty. He played it for 3 hours. He set it up for you. 3 hours. That was the story of the career. 3 hours of play, but he comes in and puts one time, one pull, 777s. So that was our first day at AWA.
Who came up with the Midnight Rockers name?
I think, you know, they took a minute because they gave us all kinds of crazy stuff. Vern Gagne was, you know, he's, Jesus Christ, I'm going to give you guys something original. You have to be American, something American. You're all American boys. How about the American Express? So that's a nice name, but that's a credit card. I don't think we can go with that. Jesus Christ, so shit, you kids. So what about U.S. Express? Well, I think Barry Windham and somebody was doing that in WWF. And now I did know of the WWF finally. Didn't know of them, which is really bad news, huh? But I think somebody's already using that. Jesus Christ, you guys are going to be difficult. I can see that. Not really. I mean, how are you going to use the name American Express? You know, and there's a credit card that's been established. And so we went through a couple of things, and I forget how, Curt Hennig basically was gave us the idea that the rocker thing. We were out partying. I think it was out in Vegas, and Vegas, when we fly in that day and do the TV tapings, we'd be done by 10:30, 11 o'clock. Flight would be the next day at 7 o'clock. There wasn't none of the boys that went to bed. I mean, it was straight up partying all night. But I remember Shawn and I were kind of just. I think we might have actually been tired on this one, and somebody made a comment like, "Guys, you guys are supposed to be y'all are party animals. What's happening?" Kurt's like, "Oh, it ain't midnight yet. They don't even start till midnight." And then somehow that clicked. Midnight rocking, midnight rockers. And somehow or another, that was where it happened. And we went to Vern. Remember, we said something to Vern about it. Rockers, midnight rockers, and he was thinking, rockers. Are they going to associate this with rocking chairs? Or you guys are? I mean, we're like, oh my God, this is the promoter. This is the promoter, and he's midnight rockers with that. Shawn assured him. Shawn has his own way of getting his point across, and he assured him that nobody would mistake the midnight rockers for guys in wheelchairs, motorized wheelchairs coming out in the ring, which might be a decent gimmick. But I think that was basically how that happened. And then to that song, Judas Priest, Living After Midnight, Rocking Till the Dawn. I mean, right after we'd figured out the midnight rocker thing, because Kurt was like, "Hey, don't even start till midnight." That we heard that song, like right after, like perfect. I mean, it was almost like it was one of those things of nature. It's, just perfect timing. We come up with this, and we hear that song right behind it, and it fits. And then of course that was our music. It's the whole time we were midnight rockers.
Was there any big differences in the work style or the fans between Central States and AWA?
Oh God, the big difference was the amount of them. I mean, it was Central States. Of course, the Kill Auditorium was always good. I mean, we got upwards of 15,000 or whatever sellout we was holding there. Because there would be some sellouts. I remember Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich had some unbelievable 1-hour matches. Then too, Jimmy Garvin and who was it? And Chris Adams, when they were doing the Battle of the Valets. That was another experience, that I had that was wild. Remember back when they were doing that, the Valets, they had Sunshine and Precious. And they had this particular night, I had a girl I was seeing at the time who had long blonde hair. Could be mistaken for either one of them. And Chris Adams and Garvin were doing the thing where it was the winner, the other, they got 5 minutes with the valet. The valets went at it. If Chris Adams won his battle, whatever, something to that effect. And one of the girls wasn't there. Let's just say it was Chris Adams' valet wasn't there. So, no, it would be the other way, Jim, because I think Chris was a babyface. Jimmy Garvin's valet didn't show up. And Chris Adams, if Chris Adams won, his girl got 5 minutes in the ring with Precious. And damn it, if Pat O'Connor, I think was whoever was, they had Chris go over anyway, even though there was nobody there for the thing. And they left it at that. It was the last match, it was main event. It was sold out, it was full. I mean, that was hot back then, that thing. And when Chris won, then now everybody's waiting for Sunshine to get 5 minutes with Precious. But they didn't explain anything. They didn't say she's out here. They just let the show go. And the people got hot and started rioting. And they were getting in the ring. They stormed the ring. This was like my first year in the business too. And I was seeing this, like thinking, wow, what have I gotten into? They destroyed the ring. They got in the ring. They tore the ropes down. I remember this one big girl. This was a big girl. They were beating the hell out of the guys. So they ripped her clothes off of her. And I mean, they pummeled her. I mean, they tore her clothes off and then beat the hell out of her. And then, like I said, they had the police with cars flying in, police dogs, and the riot squad thing. And then we were getting ready to leave, going out like one of the back doors, and they see my girl. They think it's the Sunshine or Precious one of them. And they were going crazy, man. They were beating the hell out of the door where we're at. And it was like, man, I was scared to death because they were kicking, the door was like bending in all the time. The police got there. But I mean, that was a hell of an experience. I mean, like I said, the first year in the business and thought I was about to get trampled to death. But The difference, other than the kill, though, the difference was the size of the crowds. I mean, when we first got there, too, the Road Warriors were there, Freebirds were there. I think they were the main. I mean, they were going at it, And Vern was losing people in the WWF, and he was losing control. And he was just losing his control of his own self. Really, he was panicking. He's seen his company dwindling away, and when my first full tour. When I say full tour, it was like a 5-day run. It was Denver. Denver auditorium was full. And it was a nice setup too. The way it was such a good arena for wrestling. I mean, the fans were right on top of the ring. And the acoustics were unreal. I mean, everybody had a good view. Everybody, I mean, the sound was everything. That was full. Salt Lake City was the next night. It was sold out. Went to Cow Palace. Wasn't quite sold out, but it was close. That's a huge place. And somewhere, where the heck else did we go? That was pretty much full. Wherever it was the first. Those places were pretty much all sold out. But then when Shawn got there, I will blame Shawn. They went in half. No, it was the Road Warriors. Right when Shawn got there, I've been telling them, like, brother, wait till you see all this. You ain't gonna believe it. When he gets there, the Road Warriors had just quit. So now we go around and everything was in half. It was half an auditorium at Denver, half the Salt Palace. The Cow Palace was about half. But that was still what we were used to. Shawn thought I'd been lying to him. He was like, man, tell me there's sellouts everywhere. But they were. The Road Warriors gone. Well, then the Freebirds left. And then it was that half went in half again. So now you got a quarter out of the arenas. I mean, now it was almost like Central States. I mean, we made this big jump, and as soon as we get there, it just kind of fizzled out. I mean, but it was still. I mean, it was national exposure. It was ESPN, but the crowds were really. They loved it. AWA fans loved the wrestling, and they were easy to perform for. I think that Denver was my favorite. It was actually the Rockers, Midnight Rockers' favorite. I mean, they were. That was our town. And there was actually stories that I'll tell later too.
What was Vern Gagne like when the houses started falling?
Oh, he was panicking. He was panicking, and you could be on this. You see it through your paycheck, so you could be in the same spot on the card and have the same crowd, same amount of people, and your paycheck would be half as much as it was the time before for the same, and then the next time even less. It was just, we always questioned it, like, why? We're in the same position, we're middle of the card, same amount of people, sometimes even a little more, but we got less. Jesus Christ, you kids are always causing trouble. I see he didn't answer nobody. He called us the misfits of wrestling, because he had, now he was left with me and Shawn, who were new, basically, still we were a year and a half in the business, but we were getting over as the Midnight Rockers. I mean, we were doing new stuff. Remember, the Rock and Roll Express did a couple combination things. I think they did like a drop down, drop kick, and maybe a gut shot knee lift combination thing. And so Shawn and I had seen some tapes of that and thought, that's cool, man. Let's do some stuff like that. Started coming up with quite a bit more, actually. We had a whole bunch of new things. So we were very innovative, I believe, and people enjoyed it. The style was different. It was new. And the pace was a lot faster. A little more high energy than the rest of the people out there. So we were getting over. So with us getting over and Vern not really wanting us, these young punks getting over, that was frustrating him. We had Buddy.
Were you ever told to slow down or anything like that by Vern?
Not by Vern, no. As far as in the ring.
In the ring, yeah.
Not that I don't recall. If we were, I don't remember. I think he might have said slow down after the matches and what you do afterwards. But I don't. He may have. If he did, I don't remember. Because it sounds disrespectful, but I was back then. I didn't really think a whole lot of Vern because of the way he handled things. He was really rude to everybody. I understand it now because the man was losing his business, his company. But then I came in and just seen that things were just, as far as I can see, he still had a good product, and he was so mean to everybody, so I didn't really have much respect for him. And two, he was an egomaniac, which not a big deal, but I mean, just coupled in with the way he was treating people. I just didn't think much of it. So a lot of times when he was talking to me, I mean, he was just, I didn't hear it. I mean, he was talking to me like, okay, hope you just call me a fag because I'm disagreeing. Yeah. But, what were we saying?
You're talking about the stuff that you and Shawn were coming up with, the double teams.
Oh yeah. We were getting old. Buddy Rose and Doug Summers. Buddy was a partier, and he was what everybody called a locker room lawyer, because he always that's what the Gagne just hated. It was, you got to stop listening to them locker room lawyers. Buddy Rose is a locker room lawyer. But basically, he was just telling us, because we didn't know stuff. Buddy had been around. Buddy was very knowledgeable. And he would be telling us about these, hey, look, your payoff should have been this or that. You hire on card and more people, and you get. Now, he just would bring stuff to our attention that made sense. And for that, they didn't like him. It was like he was smartening up the rest of the guys. They didn't like that. Called them locker room lawyers. We had him and Doug Summers. Doug was a good guy. I don't think that there was anything wrong with Doug other than the fact that he was tagged with Buddy. So Buddy was a locker room lawyer, so Doug was guilty by association. We had Jimmy Snuka was in there, and Jimmy's the greatest guy in the world, by the way. There's not a bad thing you can say about Jimmy, but Vern probably didn't see it that way. Vern probably seen that here was a guy that was at the top of WWF, and now he's here with me. So he's probably looking at it like, something's wrong somewhere with this guy. Who else? He had Colonel De Beers. Ed Wiskowski was another great guy. It was a great group, man. It was like a sinking ship, and we all were on it. So we had to buddy up with each other. Curt Hennig, of course, was Curt and Scott were there. It was great. But I mean, Vern, that crew right there, just named off Vern, and DJ Peterson finally came in, which was great. We all partied really hard. Me, DJ, Shawn, Curt, Scott. We were known for being out, and especially around Minneapolis, man, just partying around the pubs there. I got a reputation real quick. Actually, it was a place called Jukebox Saturday Night, I think it was called. Whenever we go there so much, that wrestling was huge in Minneapolis. Fans they were packing out the place. I mean, they were giving us everything for free, our drinks or whatever we wanted, because they knew when we came in, the place was going to pick up. But so we were getting a reputation around town as partiers and all that. So Vern called us his misfits of wrestling. Jesus Christ, I got every misfit in the business. You guys over here, you tearing up the bars. You guys got no respect. You guys over here, locker room lawyers. He just, called everybody something. He just didn't. And so, that was, and that also made us want to, rebel more, because he was telling us that. We'll show you misfit. Pat Tanaka was him and Curt and some of the guys were always ribbing. The ribs were great there. That was some of the fun times that I think I saw. The video of Shawn, or was it Shawn? Somebody was talking about the lock. We got to the lock phase. That was Curt's idea. Curt was the guy. Like when we did shows in the high schools, gymnasium. The dressing room, the men's or the boys' dressing room, or the girls, whatever. You got all the little master locks and all that thing. Well, Curt showed us that if you go around and look at every one of them, there's going to be one or two hanging open. So you can take them off. And then if you go pull on every one of them, one or two are going to pull open. Even they look closed. So, I mean, we'd always get 6, 8 locks from every dressing room. And if we didn't use them that night, we stockpiled to the next night. We had 15, 20 locks. And, I mean, everything used to get locked up. Guys' bags would get locked to, like pipes. They're going across the top of the ceiling. Their gear would have locks on them. There would be locks. I mean, just anything that could be locked was locked. And it got so bad. There was a guy called Silo Sam. He was in that Pee Wee Herman movie. Remember the tall dude who was running down the street? He was like, they brought him in to be the Battle Royal King. And he was, I like him and all. He was kind of goofy. And Curt Hennig was like, we got to do something about this guy. So the Battle Royal this one night, and like I say, this is what his specialty, And going along, there's about 10, 15 of us in Battle Royal, and all of a sudden I hear Curt just laughing his ass off. This is during the Battle Royal. I'm looking over him. I know he's done something goofy. What'd you do? He's, look at Silo. Look over Silo, and he's got a loop in his little. He has these big overhaul things. There's like a loop, I guess, where the hammer or whatever goes. It's locked to the top rope, and he's and everybody come over and just started chopping the hell out of him. He couldn't sit down there and beat the hell out of him. And then the Battle Royal, it was everybody's out. He's locked. I mean, he's locked, and the fans just laughing because he's stuck to the rope. I mean, they had to go get a what do you call it, guy, the janitor there to get lock cutters to get him out of the ring. He was there 15 minutes to the top rope, and that was when Vern had enough. Vern called a meeting about that one. He said, Jesus Christ, guys, the locks. No more locks. We got schools calling, you know, the girls' basketball team's outfits are all locked to the ceiling and they can't get in. There's locks on everything. And one other real quick, one of the funniest ones that Curt, man, was the man. We'd had a big problem. Well, I say a big problem. You know, we used to cut up at the studio where we did our interviews for the towns. You know, Greg Gagne was kind of, you know, he got under everybody's skin. So you'd have the pencils that he'd be writing off as soon as you do your interview, he'd scratch it off or whatever. Shawn or one of us or both of us, as soon as Greg would go back and we'll look over, rewind the tape real quick and see how it went. Take the pencil off. This is a silly thing, but you know, he was just bored too. We'd be there all day. Take the pencil back and Greg come in and, all right, guys, there's my pencil. I son of a bitch, and he'd leave, go come back with another pencil. He'd write something off, go and check the film. He'd take that pencil and he'd come back. He'd look, and it took him about 2 or 3 pencils before he figured out the hell is Jesus Christ, guys, are y'all messing with me? Don't be my. And so he'd go get another pencil. We ended up got about 8 of them. I mean, because he'd start taking them with him. He finally figured out don't leave it laying. And but I remember somewhere along the lines we got a pencil sharpener and sharpened down every one of them to just enough. We had about 8 or 9 pencils just did a thing. And he went to look at the tape and laid them all back on the table for him. He comes back and he goes crazy. Damn it! I said, I'm telling Dad. I ain't thinking this no more. So he runs and has a word with his father about the pencils being sharpened down. And so his dad wants to have a meeting and about the ribs. He has enough of ribs. Curt Hennig is coming. He comes out. We got to go to this one little officer meeting. Curt comes out of the bathroom, the men's bathroom. He's laughing like hell. And I'm like, what? What'd you do? He's like, go in there looking in the toilet far in. So now Curt got my ass on this too, but he got, first of all, I'll go in there and see what the hell. Nick Bockwinkel, who was, you know, the world champion, and Nick Nick's a good guy, super guy, cool guy, but he just was in a bad position because he was like the buffer guy for Vince, you know. He had to stand in and represent, and the rebels didn't want somebody representing them. So, you know, Nick was always like Mr. Boss and teaching and telling everybody what they had to do and this, that, and the other. So anyway, going this last stall, and there's a picture, 8x10 promotional picture, which is Nick with his pose with the belt, laying in the top of it, just floating there on the toilet with his shit right on top of it. I mean, all you could see was the turd, and then right underneath his name is Nick Bockwinkel. And I'm sitting there laughing like hell. And I go open the door, walk out, and there's Nick standing there. Oh shit! And then I heard Curt sound all laughing. Curt sent him after. He goes, Marty's in there. Goes, I don't know what he's doing. Go check. So Nick looked at me. He said, what have you done? I haven't done anything. I took off running. And then he goes in the back, I hear, Marvy, that's just Marvy. As he says, he comes back, a very lovely Jannetty, very nice. And Curt, man, you son of a bitch. But no, they were just, you know, Greg Gagne was pissed off now. Nick's all upset because he didn't like shit on his picture. And he thinks I did because Curt sends him in there after he tells me to go in. But so Vern has this meeting and he tells us about the locks things. That was the main thing. Jesus Christ, locks, blah 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 blah. No more locks in the territory. You guys, no more ribs. I'm tired of this. You guys are a bunch of misfits. I got the worst people in the business. Blah 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 blah. Any more ribs? I'm firing you all. You're all fired. Shutting the territory down. I don't care. I'll quit. I'll quit the business. No more. Absolutely not a single, and especially no more locks. That's it. Now this meeting's over. He goes and picks his bag up and it's locked. Somebody has reached around and locked it. During the meeting, they locked it to the damn desk. He's like, Jesus Christ, that's what I'm talking about. He punches the wall and I busted his hand, goes running out the desk. And he gets out the door, we all bust out laughing. Curt's like, what? What happened? Curt, Curt did something. What happened? I missed it. He's sitting right there, him and Tanaka. But then that night, then Nick comes in too. After Vern goes running out, Nick goes, you guys, I tell you what, no more with you. Just don't mess with the big, he calls himself the big buck. Don't be trying to rib the big buck. Do not rib. I'll just warn y'all one time. Do not rib the big buck. That night we had to drive about a 3-hour drive somewhere in Wisconsin. It was snowing. And we had our show and everything seemed to go off, with no problems. Then we're driving back. It was me, Curt, Shawn, Tanaka. We're in Curt's Blazer driving back. Nick had left. We stopped and got a couple of drinks somewhere or something. Nick left way ahead of us. Oftentimes you do pass each other going to the same town. We're all going back to Minneapolis from wherever we were, in Wisconsin, maybe Green Bay or something, a 3-hour trip. But the thing was, it was a heavy snow. It was hard to drive that night. I mean, it was, you got to be real careful. And we seen Nick's car. We're coming up and like, wow, there's somebody watching. Nick should have been gone a long time ago. Curt's around and he starts laughing, which already that tells you something's up, right? So we're catching up with Nick's car and we're looking over and we're hearing this. What the hell? He's like, his car's gonna blow up or something. And Nick's like, he's driving like this. I mean, because like I said, it's the weather. He's like right near, and Curt's like, roll the window down. So rolls the window down. You hear this. Like, what the shit? Should we tell him his car's gonna? Curt goes, tea kettle effect. Look right there on his doorknob. On his doorknob is a lock, and it's just banging up against the side of the thing. And he goes, double effect. Look at the front, and his little hood ornament on the front had a lock, and they're just banging away on the car. So he goes, now watch this. He blows the horn, and Nick looks over at us. Nick's got these big ass glasses. You're like, he looks over and there's a lock right in the middle of his glasses. He just looks at us and he's mad as hell. He just laughed. The whole carload died laughing to take off. But that was the big bug. He said, not the rib. And Nick actually come and got me back for that. He came and super glued my car, the locks in it. Super glued them all shut. I guess he figured I did that because of the shit with Curt. But that was some of the stuff there, some of the ribs there, the AWA days that used to drive them a little bit crazy. It was all fun.
Did you guys respect Vern back then, or
there was a respect, but it was you had to respect him as when he was was he a national champion? Was he? He was very high up there in amateur wrestling, and what he'd done in the business too. You had to have that respect. Plus, he was the owner, promoter, or whatever. But it was just, like I said, just the way he treated some of the guys was disrespect. It was respect and it was disrespect both.
Do you think that he could have done anything to save the company?
That would have been tough, man, because I think Vince was just buying money unless Vern was going to try to match him, dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think he made a good effort to create new stars and give you guys the ball to take over for the guys?
No, that might be what it was too, because he kind of was stuck with wanting to keep everything 50, 60 style with what was successful then. I mean, he didn't see the change coming. Basically, there was a change and he didn't see it or he didn't agree with it. And like our thing was as far out as he was going to go, with us doing the rock and roll, high flying, high energy, crazy stuff. Like I said, the Road Warriors, I mean, that was too much for them. I guess that's why they took off. They had the kick-ass character, and maybe he didn't like that he didn't sell enough or whatever it was.
Okay. All right. Turning to the in-ring stuff in AWA, we'll start out with probably the most famous match that you had in AWA, that bloodbath against Buddy Rose and Doug Summers. I think it's on the Shawn Michaels TV that WWF just put out too. Yeah. What are your memories of that match?
That the very first thing that comes to mind when I think about it is how Shawn was so damn scared because he couldn't get his blade out. He'd come over and I can't get it out. What the hell do I do? I was like, settle down, mate. He was so nervous. I started getting nervous. I mean, it was I don't know that I'm sure he had juiced before that, but I mean, I think.
Was that the first time you guys juiced in AWA?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, probably, but I don't know that for sure.
No.
But I just remember him coming over to me, and if you watch that video, you'll see him when he's over. We're talking. It's right after the couple of nice little spots he does with whoever Buddy, where we got a couple of near falls. Then it was time to get the juice, and he comes right over to me. If you ever see that again, you watch. He's talking. He's just, you look at it. He's fumbling around the wrist. He's panicking. He's like, I can't get it. What the hell? Give me your blade. Give me. I was like, settle down. Just take it easy. No, I can't get it out. He's like, oh God. And but it ended up, he got everything was fine. But too, if you watch that next time you watch that, that was funny. Maybe he had juice for it. I don't know. Because I remember when he went out to the floor to get it, if you remember, he had his head under the ring. He was completely, like an ostrich with his head and all. Which I was like, oh my God, don't make it too obvious, right? And then he comes out with the blood out from underneath his head and thing with blood. But I loved that match. I mean, because it was the bloodbath. It was just something to it. Working with Buddy and Doug was a pleasure. It's like the grapplers were our mentors at that point in our career for me and Tommy Rogers. I don't know if Shawn got to work with him, but Buddy and Doug took us, for that level. Took us to the next step. It was always a learning and a pleasure thing to work with them. I think we got the angle got drawn out a little bit long for whatever reasons, but that particular match it just seemed like the crowd there at the Showboat was really a good crowd, and they were really into that one. I mean, it was like I think everybody thought that the Rockers or Midnight Rockers were going to win the belt that night. And then when the blood started coming, it started looking like, oh God, they're getting killed. You just feel the energy from the people. It was like something. It was something different. I mean, I experienced that later on in the career, but I think that was the first time I ever felt that during a match, the connection with the crowd, where you just became a part of one whole thing. Instead of there was no separation in the ring and as the people, it was just all one. If that makes any sense. I mean, I understand it, but I don't know if it makes sense.
What were some of the most important things that you learned from Summers and Rose?
To always have a lot of beer if you're going to be doing the powder, so that any kind of level was off. Oh, you mean in the ring? Oh, okay. All right. we quite a bit, man. They taught us how to. Progress a match with the intensity, how you start off with some spots, and I tell you, what I'm thinking of right now, Tully and Arm were the best at that. When we worked with them, the Brain Busters, but I'll stay right here for now. But they kind of initiated teaching that the progression of a match as far as the intensity, starting off with whatever comical, like Buddy would come out there with he weighs 217 and have a scale and get on it, but everybody would say he's 271 or whatever, and whatever his little things he'd do with the crowd. But then you take it into wrestling, then you take it into the next level. The heels get pissed off, we get a little more intense. Just the progression of a match, of the intensity of a match. I think we learned quite a bit there. Just how to work 20, 30-minute matches and not lose to people and not get redundant with what you're doing. A lot of locker room stuff from Buddy. I mean, he would tell you, but I mean, yeah, it was it was. I think we went around a year with them, and it was like even up to the end of the year, we were still learning a little something from them, because I think we finished off with cage matches, and I'd had a couple of cage matches prior to that. I think I had Bob Brown, maybe one other cage match my entire up to that point. And then we started going around with them with the cage matches, and they taught us, how to milk the crowds with how, if it's the first one over the top or whatever it was, just how to milk the cage. I mean, it was always something we learned from them. We never stopped, even when we were done. I think it was all said and done, and we were done with them. The last match we had, we learned a little something.
Any of your what were like your favorite angles or matches from that whole program?
Man, they did some dirty shit to me and Shawn. They not Buddy and Doug, but AW, the Gagne, whoever. They did one thing where still haven't touched this car. That was almost 20 years ago. Damn, I'm getting old. They had a deal where Buddy and Doug supposedly jumped us in the parking lot because they didn't want us coming after their title thing, and they had told Shawn and I to go home, take a towel, and just scrub the skin off your face. Don't worry, it'll be scabbed for a day or two, and it'll be fine. So Shawn and I always trying to be the best we could, no matter what it was we were doing. So we just took the towel and just, for about a half an hour, rinsed on our damn faces, and I had this big, like size of a damn moon cricket scab right here. And Shawn, I think, got his eye over here. And it wasn't something that went away in a few days, like they said. Like I said, I think this little pinkness right here is from that was 20 years ago. That I had a circle, looked like a birthmark for about 5 or 6 years. From that thing, it could be seen very well. And it was to be because they jumped us in the parking lot, to keep us coming after their belts. So we come to that TV taping, big scab here on me, and Shawn's got one big here. And they're like, we're not going to do that now. We changed our mind. I think that was them getting back into Misfits a little bit, and some of the bitches. That was the experience that came over to the youth there. They got us with that one.
What are your memories of your feud against the new Midnight Express when they came in?
The new Midnight Express was
Randy Rose and Dennis Convery.
They were good, man. It was fun. It was easy, fun. I'm trying to remember if we worked with the original. I think we did work with the original once or twice also, but they were both teams were very good.
Yeah,
it was easy. And they were, again, we learned from them. I can't tell you what particular aspect of business we learned or any particular one thing, but every time we worked with the guys like that, they were very experienced and were good. We learned a little something from them, even if it was how just to flow with each other or whatever, just watch how they worked with each other. We'd see that, not necessarily what they do against us, but how they interacted amongst themselves as far as in the ring. And we were like, hey, yeah, that's what we should, So we always a little something from everybody.
What was Paul Heyman like back then?
I'm going to try not to say too much bad about Paul.
I'm just focusing on the AWA days.
It was good. That was one of the reasons that later got bad, the thoughts on him, bad feelings from him or on him or whatever you want to say. It was cool. He was out there like the rest of us, busting ass, and he was good. He's a talent. He's a genius, I think, for his business, maybe for whatever. He was good. I think he was a big part of making that whole thing work with the team there. But we did a lot of partying together, him and I, and it was a lot of all of us did. But Paul and I did quite a bit of partying, and that's why the treatment I got from him later, in ECW, he was like a whole different guy once he got to take over that company or run that company. It was like, wow, this ain't the same Paul. Yeah. But which happens to a lot of guys, in not just this industry, but anywhere that wants to get successful or get in a position of power, whatever. But that was probably maybe my first taste in this business with somebody that changed so much, from the guy I used to hang out with and just like feed me pills. I was like, here, like, man, Paul, where are you getting this stuff? And he just kept, or whatever, the nights at the China Club where, we'd have all kinds of things set up and going on. And he just totally, I think all right, next.
How about your feud against Bad Company? Any memories about your program with them?
Yeah, man, they were great. I think that's one of the best tag teams we've ever worked with. I mean, we've worked with a lot of good teams. And I don't know if it's fair to say that one is the best, because there's that, but I would say they're up there. They're not what we work with. They have brain busters, Paul. Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Man, that was a team right there. But their style made them like the best at that what they did. Paul Diamond, which was a bad company, one of them, and Pat Tanaka, totally different style. And I mean, they were like the best at what their style was. I mean, if you had to pick between the two of those, it'd be tough to say. I mean, because they're just totally two different styles. I mean, either one. Hell, I'd like to see those two work together. I mean, that would be a hell of a match. You couldn't do that now, probably, but I mean, back in the day.
What was Dallas Page like back then?
Dallas was cool when he first came in. AWA, you know, I was impressed with him because he always brought so many pretty women with him. You know, and he could talk, man. I mean, right off the bat, we had to. That's always impressed me because it's something I can't do as far as a promo and I know I ain't shutting up right now, but I mean, for an interview or wrestling, you know, or promo, I just never could do it. I mean, I tried. I mean, Shawn and I would ride down the road 3-hour trips and just, you know, Shawn could do it. He would try to help me with it and he just couldn't have a tape recorder. You know, he'd just talk stuff into it for an hour and I'd play it back and I just throw the tape recorder away. Yeah, that's all. I ain't never gonna do this. But Diamond came right in, man. I was impressed as hell. It was you know, Michael Hayes was another one. Ric Flair was that way. These were guys that, you know, because like I said, I was trying to learn to do the promos. They're just amazed at how they you know, they could give me like, okay, you got a 2 minute, you got to do 2 minutes on the grapplers in St. Louis. All right, get ready. I'm like, well, shit, what am I going to say for 2 minutes? I mean, hey, we'll kick your ass. Now I'm done. What am I going to do for the next 1 minute and 50? But, you know, I'd sit and struggle and think for 20 minutes what to say on the 2 minute interview. And Ric Flair, I mean, they'd give him a list of all the towns, and he'd just look, all right, where am I? Kansas City, and boom, he'd rattle off 2 minutes worth of whatever. Where's the next town? St. Louis or Lincoln, Nebraska. But I just rattle it off. You ain't got to think about it. Just go. Diamond Dallas was that way. I mean, they did the same thing with him. They brought him out in a showboat, and they said, hey, we want you to do an interview for this place. He just zoomed, he hit it. You know, very good. Now, I guess you got to be a kind of a natural. I don't know if, you know, there's that's what something Rufus R. Jones used to say. Is you can work real hard and improve, but you can't be like the Dusty Roses and the Flairs. That's just a natural gift. It just comes. And Dallas Page, he has that natural gift of gab, or whatever you want to call it.
Are there any more favorite or least favorite AWA moments that you want to talk about before we wrap up the AWA years? Or matches, or angles, or shows, anything like that?
Let's see. One of my favorite, what Bad Company, working with Bad Company. Like you said, we worked with them. Actually, we were leaving, we were on our way out. And they were coming in, and we were dropping the belts to them. And again, the Gagne is just another typical thing. They had lied to us about a guaranteed amount. They were going to give us a set amount, which we weren't getting. And they promised, and so, you know, just stick in here with us, guys. We're going to do this, we'll do that with you. And then we come to a TV tape, and they're like, we want y'all to drop the belts tonight. So we got no leverage whatsoever if we drop those belts. So we're like, and we've never said anything about, you know, we don't want to do a finish. Never. But we just realized that our leverage was gone as far as, you know, okay, you guys said we'll get a guarantee. If we get the belts up, what we got to do. So we stood up to that. And they told us, Greg Gagne's, and he loaded the room with people in case there was going to be a fight. He had Wahoo McDaniels in there. He had some dude who was like a 7th degree black belt sitting in there. And this was like me, Shawn, Paul Diamond, Pat Tanaka. It's usually all, and Greg Gagne, that would normally be it because he'd give us the finish and everything. He's got all these backup forces in there. So, I mean, we knew that they were expecting. And Shawn and I weren't going to be fighting everybody. I mean, we were going to raise some hell, but we weren't going to be fighting nobody. But we did. We were like, we can't. You promised us, we don't want to drop the belt right now until we get that other thing settled. We didn't want to say in front of them guarantee because we felt like, just doing Greg and them a favor, not letting the rest of the guys know we were going to get a guarantee. But they come right out, Greg come out. What are you talking about? We never said promise on nothing. So we're like, oh shit, man, we're screwed. And looked around at all the. We thought about it for a second, looked around at all the backup forces, like, nah, never mind. We just, okay, well, let us think about this. We had actually left the room and went and sat and just discussed getting on a plane, just leaving right there with the belts. But then we thought, no, let's go do this thing, let's go just drop it over here. And so it was Pat and Paul. I was glad it was them because we were great guys and great workers. And so bad company, we were happy to do that with them. So it was like a bittersweet match because it ended up being a great match. And I think I got color on that. Where they ran into the post on the outside. Got a good one. But like I said, it was excited to love working with them, man. Because when you turn a crowd on, you go out there and you got 20,000 or whatever people screaming. I mean, you go home with a contentment, a happiness that just can't be explained. And when you're going to work with Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka, you're going to get that. You're going to be able to do that. And so, it's like, yes. So it was good from that point. But then again, we knew we were done. I mean, we were going to haul ass because they screwed us with the guarantee thing. And that's, I think we made a phone call the next day to Terry Garvin, who was then in WWF. We said, okay, you guys, we'll bring you up here. Because Vern and them were wanting a 2-year contract, but they weren't giving any money figures, just tying it down for 2 years. And I remember calling Terry Garvin and telling him that. I said, they want to sign us for 2 years. He's like, no, don't do that. Just make a phone call. And I think we got a call like a couple of days later and a starting date. And then a finishing date the very same day.
We'll get to that story in a minute.
Okay.
What's your opinion of Greg Gagne?
Yeah, what, Greg, he's a good guy, but just, I like him. I think I like him more so than his father. And it's not that I don't like his father, it's just I think they were in a tough position. They weren't handling, they were falling apart. They were just losing control, and that's when we met him. So, we kind of met him under, duress, I guess.
Did Vern ever bounce any checks on you?
No, but Paul Heyman did. My buddy bounced checks for me. Never got them cleared up until he come down to Florida and wanted to save on airfare and have to pay because I lived down there. Then all of a sudden the check cleared. So they would make those other shows for him.
Okay. All right. One last question about AWA. Any party stories or prank stories or red stories that you didn't quite get to?
Let's, I told you about the lock. It was the lock phase, we went through. Going back, there's one other funny story. It was funny to me, and a lot of guys have seen it. We had, one night during all the lock phase, everything's getting locked up. We had a couple guys, badasses. Scott Ledoux, who was a boxer. I think he fought like 8 world champions. He almost beat Scott Norton. Not Scott Norton, Ken Norton. Scott Norton was a wrestler, wasn't he? But he was, he was a tough guy. And then you had Leon Baby Bull White, who was Vader, of course. 2 tough badasses, one in football, one boxer. One night, we were riding in Curt's Blazer. It was Curt sitting up front. I think Shawn was up there. And in the back was one side was Leon, Baby Bull White, and Scott Ledoux, and the other side me in the middle. 5 was out, and I think it was like Curt had the perfect truck for snow, a lot of snow up that way, Minneapolis, But we're riding, and Leon was, Leon had big old burly, and it's funny, his interviews, he started out with that, oh, power, and then he'd go right there. I never Nelson had a high-pitched voice when he actually talked. But he was going out, we were leaving the building one night, and it started with signing autographs. He didn't like the people would like tell him like, why your voice? I mean, you got Howard did it. And so he kind of he wouldn't sign autographs. I mean, he's just some people that way. Scott Ledoux called him on it one night. We were we're leaving the place, and some kids asked Leon, "I get away from me." Leon always had a bad attitude too back then. I don't know if he's changed or not. Great, I like him, don't get me wrong, but he's a good friend, but I mean, he had a bad attitude. So Scott will do, like I said, we got in the truck and Scott started saying, that's why you never made it in football. And I'm like, what? And Leon, the same thing. He's like, what? He was, sign for the kids. What the hell do you think you're too good to sign for the kids? Leon says, and he's like, what the hell's that got to do with football? He goes, you just fucking stupid statement like that's why you got your ass beaten boxing all the time. So I'm like, oh God. That's because Scott he took his boxing serious, and he starts going, oh, hell would you? You went to the NFL and you did great in college, but you couldn't do shit with the big guys. You chicken shit, but you got your ass beat by world champions. You couldn't beat nobody. I mean, now these two badass, I'm in the middle. And I'm like, no, guys, I'll sign the autographs. That's what I'll do it for y'all. That's not just easy. Because I mean, they were swelling up as they were yelling, and I'm getting squashed on each side. And Kurt's like, yeah, I think you should sign autographs, Leon. Shut up, Curt. Don't stir the shit up. and I mean, I thought they were going to go at it. I mean, Leon's leaning right over, like, got his fist pulled back, and he goes, oh, I've fought a boxer before. I'll fight you. And the dude's like, oh, I'd love to knock you out. I'm like, oh my God. And finally, I think Shawn finally turned around and calmed him down somehow. I don't know what he did, but I mean, they were steaming. I was sweating from the heat coming off of them in the middle. And the next day we had to fly somewhere, I think it was. And it was only Curt could come up with this. We're walking down to the airport terminal, and we look, and Scott and Leon and John going at it again. It was the next day after that thing. They're at it again. Like, oh my God, they're going to go at it. And I mean, Leon's huge, and Scott's pro boxer. What's going to happen here? Who's going to break it up? What's going to happen? So that night, wherever the heck we wrestled, we were going to come back to the dressing room, getting ready, and now all of a sudden, you're like, God damn it! Fuck! Oh, you motherfucker! Scott screamed. We're like, what the hell? We look over there, and he's like, this bag here, except a nice bigger one, two of them. Scott Ledoux bag, Leon White's bag, have been locked together on handle. Now they got to carry. They had nice bags, these Gucci bags. They were a lot of the times if you can't find somebody to cut the locks, they just cut the damn bag and you get another one. They weren't going to cut their bags. They had these Gucci bags, or whatever the hell they were. So now these two bosses that hate each other, they've got an outside handle of each of their bags. They got to walk their bag together. Headed through the airport that day. I mean, they got all the way back to Minneapolis before they got a lock cutter. And they were walking through the airport like a date because they were actually carrying their bags together. Only Curt, man. Only Curt could have come up with that kind of. But that was during the lock phase. It turned into the lock thing. It turned into to shavings, eyebrow shavings, or even head shavings. Pat Tanaka would tell you about the head shavings. But the thing there was, whenever you passed out, if you passed out and your boys were around, just eyebrow gone. And it was funny because, a lot of times you'd have TV tapings the next day and you got no eyebrow. Curt, I don't know who finally got Curt, because Curt was the master. And Curt, one day somebody got him. And he put a Band-Aid over it. He went to the ring the next day. It was TV taping. There was one night, at one point, me and Shawn and the Nasty Boys, I was telling you earlier, the four of us lived in a one-bedroom apartment. And I think this was when we were down in Tennessee, though, for Lala or Jarrett's. And, so every so often, the guys from AWA would come in and do a shot. Curt come in one night. And there was this guy named, there was a Japanese photographer, very popular. What was his name? Suzuki. Jimmy Suzuki, I think was his name. They came down, he came down to film Curt. Curt was doing a big tour of some kind or something or other. And he was for the Japanese paper. Suzuki's following Curt around every town he's going to. And, you got all the guys that did the shade. The Nasty Boys were bad about shaving people, especially the promoters, like the little towns we go to, like local promoters. Nasty Boys would get them, come on, you got to get drunk and party, just drink a lot, and they pass out and they shave them. shaved her eyebrows, shaved half her head. And, Curt was I think he was originator of that thing. And Shawn and I, once in a while, had been known to shave an eyebrow. I mean, sometimes Jack Daniels tell you to do stuff. But we're all in one place together, one room. I mean, it's one apartment. And we're drinking and we're like, calling truce. It's like, come on, guys, because we're ready to go to bed. We've been up a couple of days and doing what all we used to do back in those days. We haven't slept in 2 days. We're wanting to go to bed. But nobody wants to go to sleep because they're like, no, there's no way somebody ain't getting shaved out of this crew. So we're begging, please, nobody, please, no, don't nobody, nobody, we all said truce, but damn, we didn't all go to the bathroom cabinet and get Band-Aids and go ahead and put them over our eyebrows. So if we, mess with it, wake us up. And we're all doing that. We look over and Jimmy Suzuki, the Japanese reporter's passed out. So Curt goes right over to him, does his job, does his business. They didn't get one of them, he got both of them, both eyebrows off. And I think he was getting him so hard on the second one, it woke Jimmy up. I think his name was Jimmy. I know it was Suzuki. He got up and he said, "Oh, what happened? What's happened? Oh, what's happened?" And it nicked him a little bit, so a little bit of blood. And so Jimmy goes to see it in the bathroom, see what's happening. "Oh, where are my eyebrows? Where are my eyebrows? Oh no, this is no good." And he comes running out, asks Curt, "Curt, you see my eyebrows? Where are my eyebrows?" And Curt's like, "I don't think you brought them with you tonight." and he gets all upset, man. Suzuki goes out in the parking lot. Now the Japanese guy at 4 a.m. is so upset. He's just out in the parking lot steaming, no eyebrows. Curt gets on the phone and calls and says, "We got a problem over here at the apartments where it's goes." So there's some Japanese guy out in the parking lot roaming around by the cars with a brick talking about Pearl Harbor. So the police come up and they come grab Suzuki and they pick him up and he's got blood down the side of his face, and I don't know what they ended up doing with him, but that was some of the eyebrow shavings stuff we had to phase that we went through. And there was a lot of it. Like I said, it was a lot of times it was wrestling promoters. It was a little small town, the smaller town promoters. We didn't ever get Vern. That we'd like to have, but another. Did I tell you about the one of the big memories of Shawn and I had? When we were living in Minneapolis. Like I told you, partying. The partying was the thing. And we had come up with a system of, like, if we had to wrestle 2.5 hours outside of town, 2 hours outside of town, the bars. We get through around 10 o'clock. Well, I think Minneapolis at the time, the bars closed at 1, which is early. I mean, that sucked. But, if we just got there for last call, we'd make up for, because we buy 10 or 12 shots for last call and make up for only having 20 minutes of being there. So, but we're 2 hours away, 3 hours away, and we got, so much time to get there. We come up with this idea of, and he had this little 300ZX that would fly. We made a blade, like for do the thing, and we put it in the middle of whoever was driving. The one that wasn't driving, if we got pulled over, took the blade. If we got stopped, we'd just fly, go 100 miles an hour. And if police pulled over, which I think one time just happened, we hit it, hit the blood. We tell the police we got through wrestling over there and just got nailed pretty hard. They was trying to get to the hospital. And, that was, I think actually the only one time we actually had to use, we had it ready for that very thing. And the only one time, I think it backfired on us because the cop wanted to just take us to the hospital. Follow me. Well, shit. Which I think we got there, we just like, no, it's okay, man, we're all right. And we're just going to get on back to the house. He's like, all right, but we didn't get to go out that night. We were more disappointed about that than anything. But yeah, that was our system, man. Have that blade right there. I don't suggest that everybody do this, but have that blade right there. And if you're speeding wrong, reach up and get it and say, "Oh, look, bleeding, trying to find a hospital."
All right, moving to when you left the AWA, was there ever any talks with NWA or any talks of Shawn going without you, or you going without Shawn, or anything like that?
From AWA?
Yeah.
No, it was directly WWF. Like you said, we talked to Carb in that time,
and they wanted you guys as a tag team.
Yeah,
apparently. Okay.
Yeah, it was a solid thing there. Garvin called back and said, "Yep, well, you guys come to the next TV in Syracuse or Rochester or Buffalo, wherever it was, or somewhere in New York." And pretty much, I think everybody's heard the story, but I'll tell it anyway. I mean, our first day in there, Vince, first of all, it was our first day in, brand new, and now it's just like when we first came to AWA, where the new guys in, and everybody's looking at us like, who are these punks? That type of thing. Vince was having his first meeting with the boys. They were saying this was a big deal. I mean, he did it quite a bit after that, but evidently it's the first time he ever had a meeting with all the boys. Our first day in. So to us, it wasn't that big a deal. But the guys that had been there, it was like, wow. His whole talk was about professionalism. And it was about, the business being changed now. It's not no more a six-pack and a blowjob and fat promoters with cigars. It's respectable. It's as big as the NBA. It's going to be as big as the NFL. And you're representing 24/7. You dress the part. You're always in character when you're out there in public. It was just a whole professionalism. No more dressing sloppy. No more tearing up the hotel rooms. Just the professionalism. Professional conduct in public. That was his speech. His first speech ever to the boys. Shawn and I's first day. That night. There's no way of shortening this because it won't. We went out. Terry Garvin told us you need to go out and mingle with the guys. We basically were just going to keep to ourselves. So he said, "Don't do that. The guys will think you guys are, think you're too good. Get out and mingle." So we did. And I remember we went to hanging out with Jimmy Powers, Davey Boy, British Bulldog Davey, Jimmy Jack Funk, me, Shawn. We're all at the table, and somebody else I don't remember who, but just having cut out, drinking, socializing, and Jimmy Jack, Jesse Barr, he started messing with Shawn about, "Oh, you guys supposed to be big partiers, huh? Come on, punks, let me see you do this." Takes a glass and breaks it, and bites it and breaks it. Tells Shawn, "Come on, punk, you're supposed to hurry up and party. Come on, let's see what you can do." Shawn's like, "Man, I ain't doing that crap, man. That ain't how we party. That ain't what we call partying. Come on, punk." And he takes another glass. "You ain't shit. Come on." And Shawn's looking at him like he's an idiot. He's just ignoring it. And he's getting a little more forceful, kind of pushing on a little bit. Shawn's like, "Well, okay," so he grabs it like a little wine thing, breaks it over his head. Jimmy Jacker's like, "You guys are good." It won him over, and so that was basically all the violence that took place right there. That was it. All the destruction right there. That was it. It escalated way beyond that, but that happened. And at the end of the night, time to leave. To shorten this part at least, the girl that I left with, Jimmy Jack was wanting to leave with, and I didn't know that. So I guess he got a little pissed off. And I know he'd actually asked about going to Denny's to eat, and the girl was good, and she had tits hanging out of her little waist, nice. And she looked great. I didn't know Jimmy Jack was that. I thought he was just wanting to hang out because Shawn broke the glass. I didn't know he was trying to get with a girl. And he says, "Let me go to the room and get my wallet." So he takes off his wallet. The girl says, "Come on, let's go." And I was like, "Well, waiting on Jimmy Jack." She goes, "Do you want to with him or you want with me?" I was like, "Okay, let's go." And but the bad part about it was we jumped in her car and she was circling around the wrong way where Jimmy Jack he didn't come back out, and she had to drive right past him. And he's standing there with his hands on his hips, and I'm looking like, "Well, we got to stop now. He's right here." She goes, "I ain't stopping nothing." He just left. So the next day, in the lunch line, where they had like the food catering service thing. Remember, I was hungover and just ready to eat. And I remember going to the lunch line, and Jimmy Jack was leaving the food things. I'm coming in, walking right up in my face. "What's your problem, punk?" And I'm at first thinking, hell, this guy's he's just goofy all the time. Not just when he's drinking. I'm thinking, I got to break the glass in my head now or what? What are you talking about, Jimmy? You know what you did last night. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'd forgotten about the little thing driving past. That totally slipped my mind. So I'm just thinking about everything was fun last night. And then he started up with "You know what you did," telling everything. Now, all the boys, keep in mind, are sitting here, Shawn and I knew, And they're all sitting here at the lunch, you know, eating and hearing him scream at this new guy. Then he comes up with, you know what you did, telling everybody there last night, you guys are going to be stars and I'm a jobber. And man, as soon as he said that, all those people were eating just stopped and just started like looking at us. And I'm right here focusing on him because I'm taking a sucker punches any second. At the same time, I noticed there was no more clanging at table, you know, dishes and silverware. Like, oh my God. Because I knew how that sounded. Like, man, please. And I'm looking at them, who would believe that? You know, you said it to the limo driver, you said it to everybody, you said you were going to whip me tonight. We'll see about that in the ring. and with that, I mean, I thought he was just, you know, throwing out an idle, you know, threat. And then Shawn just walks by behind me. He goes, and that one over there, taking glasses and breaking them all over the bar and scaring the hell out of poor bartender. You know, and we're like, oh, shit, man. And we walk off. And he goes, that's all right, I'll see y'all tonight. Sure enough, we get the TV sheets. We're working against him that night. We got him and I think it was Jose Estrada maybe. We're working, and we didn't work that first night, the very first night. This was actually going to be our first night, our first match.
This is Buffalo and Rochester, right?
Yeah. Okay. And so now we're like, oh no, our first match is, how could you, just like, we're just, you know, only I could have this kind of luck, right? You know, this guy that we actually have this problem with, that's who we're going to end up wrestling. And so we tried to get out of it. We went, I think we told, I don't remember who it was, maybe Pedro Morales or somebody, Chief Jay Strongbow there. Like, man, can we change this up? Because there's a little bit of friction here. And we don't want to have a bad match, our first match. And they went right over and got Jesse. What's the problem? And they brought Jesse right over, like, that's even going to make it worse now. But, and they got him, and he's like, no, I got no problem. Everything's fine. We went and had the match, and everything was good. And Jesse even came over afterwards and said he was sorry. Sorry, guys, I just had too much to drink. So it seemed like everything was pretty cool. But now all the rest of the boys who had heard all that, you know, the story grows as it's told. And, you know, that thing about us being the superstars didn't just sit very well with a lot of the guys there, especially for ones that might have been threatened to take our, you know, their position, you know, any tag teams or whatever. So when we were leaving that night, Vince saying something about good match, but the partying guys, raised a little hell, but not too much, something to that effect. We're like, okay, so he knows. That was the first thing. I mean, that was the first thing he said. So we were like, well, he knows. So we don't know what he knows. And I think we went back home, whatever. And Terry Garvin called like next day. He said, sorry, Marty. He goes, I think Vince is going to let you guys have a little time off to mature. You heard what happened. And I go, well, oh no, what do you mean what? He goes, well, about breaking all the glasses in the place and you know, tearing up the bar and causing fights. So I said, no, that happened. No, that ain't what happened. No, he goes, well, I don't think Vince is gonna. So you guys can come up here, fly in here and try to talk to him. That's your best bet. You're gonna have to pay your own way, fly up here and try to talk to him, which we said, yes, we'll do it. Man, I think it was like $400 for each ticket to fly out to Sanford, Connecticut from Minneapolis. And or if we'd moved home by then. And remember going to this intimidating whole site. You know, you got this nice glass 4-floor building, you know, and big WWF signs, and you walk in, it's just an immaculate building, and it's just like you're leading to the vaults of that. Every step is a little scarier than the one before. And the secretary's like, yeah, he's not here yet. You know, y'all's meeting at 2:00, and he's running a little late. We're sitting. I mean, we're sitting. Shawn had his boots, his snakeskin boots, which boots were the big thing back then with the wrestlers. Sitting there with his leg crossed, and you know, the boot right here in view. Vince comes walking up, and he goes, "Hey, fellas," and he goes, "Nice boots." Shawn's like, "Thank you." He says, "They're made for walking, you know," and we were all like, "Oh," he goes, "Oh, no, just come on in here. I'm just kidding." So, and as Shawn said, once we got in there, then he fired us. But it was not so direct. I mean, he told us that he'd heard some of the stories of what actually happened. But he said, basically, in a nutshell, the boys didn't want us there. He goes, "I'm doing you guys a favor." He said, "The boys don't want you here. You won't stay here." at that point, we didn't understand that. We're like, well, yeah, let's give us a chance. And he's like, no, trust me. And later, I don't know what he meant. I mean, it ripped the hell out of me. They didn't do all this. We seen what could happen. So probably, you do thank him that he did let us go there. So that was our one day in, and that was how it actually happened right there. Jesse Barr kind of screwed everything up for us, and I mean, that was it. That was all there was to it. Of course, you know what's funny? I told you how the story grows. We were screwed now because we just left Vern and went there.
Did you leave Vern on good terms or bad terms?
Nobody leaves him on good terms. and he was now, he's like, you punks, look what happened to you now, type thing. So we had to go all the way down to Continental, which was out in Birmingham, Alabama. I ain't trying to put it down to say it was small compared to where we've been. We had to go there and remember our first night in. I think Scott Armstrong was it. Tom Pritchard was there. Let's see, a couple of other guys that came up to us like, "You guys, man, y'all are crazy. We heard what happened up there." We're like, "Oh, really? Was y'all here?" And because we were wondering, how did that story, what happened up there, get to down here? What was y'all hearing? So like, "Oh man, we heard all about y'all, man. And there y'all took all the glasses in the bar and broke them all, throwing them at the bartender. So then y'all caught the couch on fire. Then had to take the couch and throw it in the pool to put the fire out." Sean and I looked at each other like, "Well, we're pretty crazy." He said, "What the hell, man? Might as well take credit." It don't matter now anyway. But that's how that story grew, man. It's from what actually happened to we called the place on fire.
Didn't you guys end up going back to AWA for a little stint?
Yeah, once we did the Continental thing.
Anything interesting in Continental?
Yeah. Well, real quickly, Bob Armstrong, Bob Armstrong had taken over. He was booking. Well, while we were there, we worked with Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller a lot. That was fun. That was easy. That was fun. We had a good time. Birmingham back then wasn't a very exciting place to live, so we had to make up for it in ways that we shouldn't have. It was kind of tough on the bodies and some of the partying stuff we did back then, but we were okay because back then, man, if we were having fun, we were happy. I mean, of course, we wanted to be ultimately back at the top, but we kind of knew we'd get there sooner or later. So we was young and going to enjoy our fun, and we were pulling some fun out of it. It was hard work, but we were pulling some fun out of the Birmingham area. And it wasn't until some new people bought the company, and Shawn had signed an autograph on one of somebody's shirt. It would be a real wise ass to him. Like sometimes they do. Like, "Hey, sign my autograph. It ain't for me. I just, I don't even know who you are, but just sign this." Something to that effect. And so Shawn said, "Okay," and he wrote on the back of the shirt, he wrote, "I am a real big asshole." and that was it. So that person went and took it to these people, whoever. They were like, "Oh, look what one of your wrestlers did." And they took that shirt and brought it into these new owners were not even involved in wrestling. They just saw an opportunity that, hey, wrestling supposedly makes money. Let's buy this. They knew nothing about wrestling. And Shawn let them know that right away when they brought the shirt to him and said, "Did you sign this on this kid's shirt?" And Shawn says, "So what if I did?" And they said something about professionalism or something other. And Shawn ripped into them and told them about themselves. "What the hell do you know about wrestling? I've been doing this, blah, 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 blah. Y'all just don't know shit about whatever. And that night, Bullet Bob Armstrong said, "Guys, sorry, you gotta go." And he goes,
"So how long did you guys last there exactly?"
About a month and a half. 6 fun weeks. But it was probably a good thing we got out of there, though, because we were working too hard for the fun we were getting. We were really having to labor to get fun out of it. And we were like, Bummer Armstrong said, "You guys want to go ahead and work tonight, or y'all can quit now?" We kind of were a little hot about it, And Shawn said, "You just go now." So we were good. We left, and we got lucky enough. We were still kind of a warm item, a hot item, whatever. That Tennessee was like, "Yeah, come on up here for the Jarretts." And that's when we went up there and like I said, a little bit up in the Nasties. And we'd know them from AWA days, but that's when we moved in with them in the 1-bedroom apartment. And there was a struggle there in Tennessee too. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of money being made. And it was there though that we had some crazy times there too, man. Everything from getting shot at to I was telling you earlier about one of the Nasty Boys. Can I say that on camera? What he did?
Sure.
Pissing on Elvis's grave. Let me explain that too, because it sounds worse than what it actually is. We, on Friday nights, Saturday mornings was TV taping for Tennessee, for the Jarrett's promotion. And so they always have a spot show right near Memphis, because that's where they did the taping. Friday nights in Memphis, there's some fun to be had in Memphis. So we generally be out and partying, and for the most part, we always still just went straight into the TV taping. Just throw the last beer can away and go right in and start getting dressed, get ready to work, or whatever you might have been partying with. But this particular night, we got this idea: let's go see Graceland. Let's go to Graceland. And I remember we pulled up to the front, and there's a little security booth thing, and we didn't see nobody. So the Nasties had a great idea: let's just climb over the gate and go up there. So they start climbing, and the security guy comes around. What the hell are y'all doing? And he recognized, Nasties are pretty recognizable with the mohawk things, and they're big old guys. And they were over there in the Jarrett's territory. And so they recognized him right off. The security guys, they loved wrestling. So I mean, they were great. We talked shit with them for quite a bit. But they said, we can't let you in though. I mean, we'd love to, we can't do it. Be back in the morning. So we got TV taping in the morning. Sorry, this is nothing we can do. So we got back in the car and just said, thank you, shook our hands, drove up the street a little bit, and there's a road you can turn. It's going to be on the one side of Graceland property there. You park, and we went through some houses and got to a gate. I'd done something to my ankle that night, so I'm limping along. And me, Shawn, and the Nasties jumped the fence. And Sags talking about his Army days or something or other. Follow me. I'll show you how to sneak up there quietly. It's a good way to. I mean, if you've ever seen Graceland and the way it's set up, I mean, it's a long way from where the guard gate is to up where his grave part is. But Nasty Boy Sags is saying, "Follow me. I used to be in the Army." He's doing this creepy crawl thing. He's just stepping on every leaf just there. Just sounds like gunshots going off. Yeah, that's real good. He's just crackling all the way up to it, and Dobbs is like, "Oh, what the hell!" He just runs up to the thing, and Shawn follows him up. And so I was hurting. I got as far as I wanted to go because I'm thinking if we have to run, I don't have to go far to this fence. So I just kind of stayed by the fence, and I'm seeing them up there. They're big Elvis fans, all three of them. Shawn's a huge time Elvis fan, and Nasty's too. So I'm sitting there, and they're like real silent at first. You're looking at where his gravesite is, and he was telling you there's a wooden fence, like horse looking, the two wooden rails type fence thing, just around it. And they're on the inside of that, and they're just standing there real quiet. I think one of them, went down and kissed the grave, and that's when I heard Nasty going, "What the fuck are you doing? You can't piss on Elvis." and I think Sags was, I'm giving him some beers, just passing through my kidney first. and then with that, Shawn screamed at him or something like, "God, you can't piss on the grave." And it was getting loud. And I think the security gate, either the little booth thing either opened or there was some kind of noise where we thought somebody was coming. They all turn around and start hollering, trying to jump over that. They just tore that damn wooden thing down. They just tore it right down. And we scooted out of there. We got over the fence and got the heck out of there. But that was a hell of a thing to this day. I mean, Sags, he's got that memory of pissing on Elvis's grave, giving him beer, passing through his kidney first.
What was it like working for the Jarretts?
Man, there wasn't much pay. I mean, we were struggling to get by. Shawn and I, the Nasties ended up, I think they went, I don't know where the heck they went. They went to NWA, or if they went back to AWA, but they got out of there. They left. And we couldn't afford that apartment ourselves. That's how bad things were then. So we had found a hotel. It was like $14 a night. And so we were splitting that. $7 a night each, a night split in a hotel room. And it just barely had enough to do that. And we'd go to a Chinese buffet that was right up the road, like $4 for all you could eat. And we would just stuff ourselves. We didn't have to eat once a day. So, I mean, it was like $10 a day was everything. It was our food and what we sleep on. And then we had to have money for gas to get to the towns. And there was no money being made there whatsoever. But, I mean, as it evolved, we became the champions.
You guys worked as heels there, right?
Yeah, that was fun. That was the first and probably the only time would have made a bigger company that I got to work heel, and that was a blast. We really enjoyed the hell out of that. But we became their champions. Then Vern called down and wanted us to come back and do some shots for him up there, which we did. I think that's when we worked with Midnight Express that you were talking about with Rose as being one of them. And then we ended up getting that belt. One time we had the AWA belts and we had the Tennessee belts. What was their thing called? CWA. I don't know what the heck the company was called, but anyway, we had both belts. And then then Vern wanted us up there a little more often since we had his belts, which is where it came around to wanting another contract thing where in time we got to made a call to Terry Garvin again. And Terry was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, we got you another starting date."
So it's like the same thing all over again.
Yeah. But this time we came in there and we did like we wanted, and we still made an enemy. We did like the last time we were told mingle, socialize, don't keep yourself. Well, this time when we came, we said, "Hell no, we keep it to ourselves." Damn it, Andre didn't hate us for that because he thought we were assholes because once Andre formed an opinion about somebody, that was it. You couldn't even change it. And so when we came in that next time, we didn't go nowhere, said that with nobody. I think the big things we probably should at least went around and shook everybody's hand, like it's tradition in the business. But we were just so scared and didn't know if people hated us or whatever, the boys hated us, so we just kept to ourselves. And Andre saw that, and Andre, he right off the bat, he's hated us. So we still can, but I mean, yeah, but it went smooth from there on, other than Andre.
Was there any talk before we went back to WWF about NWA or at the time? Or
no, we never nothing ever came up with NWA until we were at WWF for a while. And as you mentioned earlier, that Shawn had talked about that on his interview here, and he was pretty much accurate except for just a couple of details I'm gonna hit on here in a minute. Okay. But anyway, those. The only time we actually had any kind of deals with NWA was once we'd already been in WWF a while. Before that, for whatever reasons, it never came around. We never called nobody there. Nobody there showed interest to us. It just was never a thing.
Okay. Why did you end up changing the Midnight Rockers, just the Rockers?
Well, I think the copyright, Vern had it. I remember we went into, and Vince, wanted to, so what do you guys, what's your name? We can't use Midnight Rockers. What kind of name? So let's give us a night to think of something. Shawn, I'll come up with something. We'll come up with something tomorrow because you guys are going to put you on the TV. You need a name for you. And man, Shawn and I racked our brains. Man, we were coming up with a billion different names. And we had a list. Each of us had, like, let's write down as many as you can think of and switch and see how many of yours I like and mine and yours. And we were just like, oh, this is clever. We couldn't really, we were just sort of like, not quite. It wasn't that one that just, So the next day, I remember, we sat with Vince and he was like, did you come up with anything? We was like, well, we got this list here. We got it narrowed to, And so he says, well, what is it? He says, what do the guys call you? We're like, what do you mean, what do they call? So when the guys want you, if they're looking for you or something, what do they call you? What's their nickname? So they just call and say, hey, where's the Rockers? He goes, that's your name, the Rockers. And we're like, mother, we wrapped our brain, and he comes up with it like that, and that was it. That was the end of it. Just like that.
Were there any promises of a push, or did Vince give you an idea of what his plans were for you?
No, we had plans. We had our own ideas, but no, I don't think he ever, or anyone ever says, hey, this is what we're going to do with you. Whether or not, I don't even know if they do that with back then, if they did that with anybody, they just kind of see how things materialize. But I mean, we weren't ever told. We were just glad to be there. But once we were, just like anything else, once you reach a level, for a little bit, that's fun. Then now you want to go up a little higher. And we started getting over there. I mean, the style we had, we actually increased the innovation, from AWA days. And I think we were getting better. I mean, now we're 2.5 years in the business, 3 years in the business, whatever it was, and we got a little more experience, and we're understanding psychology a little better. So we're starting to click. We're starting to excel. And again, working with something like Telly and Arm was one of the teams we got to work with right away. And the progression, it was skyrocketed working with them. And then we were starting to. We started throwing out that, hey, we're gonna get a title match or something. We're just always gonna go around just being a middle card, middle match. The generic matches doesn't, has not much meaning to it. Even though the Telly and Arm things were exciting. I mean, they had us doing like brawls back to the dress, never a pinfall, just brawl back to the dressing room and leave it open to do whatever with it. But then Telly and Arm left. They cut that one short because they took off, went back to NWA. I think the Rougeau brothers were the next ones they stuck us with, and they actually gave us an angle. I mean, actually a something. I mean, because up to that point, there was really nothing with this one.
Why do you think they didn't put you in any angles or anything? Do you think that was a size thing with Vince?
I don't know. I don't know if it was. I don't know if they wanted to make sure how we were gonna, tour within the company, and want to see one time they came here and made it one day. Let's wait and see how they're going to be for about 6 months before we do something. It could have been, something to that, or they could have been. I mean, I heard a lot of people ask the question like, was it the size? Because we were the smallest guys there, and a lot of the guys, from what I understand, I just now found this out recently. a lot of the guys didn't want to do jobs for us because of our size. I think the only person that I actually know, I say person, team, I won't say what individual, but I think Demolition was one that was, and I could see their point of, they were a big, burly thing, but I mean, it's a word. I mean, we were outquickering the size and power. I mean, so it wasn't a shoot. But, and then I think the Heart Foundation also at first didn't want to, for whatever reasons, but then they went ahead and agreed to, which I don't think Demolition ever did agree to. I don't think we'd ever, if at best it was DQs with them.
Were you guys ever told to slow down or not do as much in the matches or stop the innovation, anything like that?
I don't remember. Like I said, for the most part, guys always liked working with us. I mean, they always felt like it was, they knew it was going to be easy. They weren't going to get hurt. They knew the match was going to be good. Their only thing was they were going to blow up. I mean, because our pace was so fast. But they would take that over working with some guys that were going to pound them or just have horrible matches. We for the most part, everybody we worked with, man, I think both sides enjoyed it. We loved working with the Rougeaus. Of course, the Brain Busters. Powers of Pain, everybody thought was going to be a problem because
that was Warlord and Barbarian.
Yeah, and they were monsters. I mean, they were just huge. But see, they were both super nice guys. They were both, hey, whatever you guys want to do, and we put something together. That was some of the best matches. I mean, we never would have thought it looking at it, those guys and us, but we put together something that we just flowed perfect. It made sense. Everything we did was a combination thing to one of those guys or something where they would, end up nailing their own selves, and we work off that. But we even, with them, we even had good matches with Demolition, even though of all the matches we had, for some reason, those were a little choppy. And I don't know the reason. They never flowed like the rest of them. Working with Orient Express was absolutely a pleasure, man. It was so easy. When it was Paul Diamond, and it was good when it was Sato and Tanaka. But when, remember it was Kato, which was Paul Diamond under the mask, that was bad company again. We was getting to work with those guys. And I think probably the single, if you had to say the single best tag match ever that I've been involved in would be the Royal Rumble in Miami. I think in '91. And it was the opening match of the Rumble. It was us against Orient Express with Paul Diamond. And man, it was just magic. It was just perfect flow. And the thing was, it was almost like no thought process. It just happened.
Did Shawn change at all when you guys were in WWE, or WWF towards the beginning of the stay there, or was he still the same Shawn from the AWA days and Central States days?
From my perception, from my standpoint, he changed. Maybe from someone else's, he didn't. But of course, I knew him from the get-go. From the kid that was over there with the pants pulled up under his chest. There was Shawn and I. We did a lot together. We roomed together, which most teams didn't do at all. And then, let alone, we for like 6-7 years, every night roomed together. Which other guys would say, "How do y'all do that? How do y'all not hate each other?" And we got along great. We experienced quite a lot of crazy stuff, man. Some of the stuff, I guess, I'd like to tell some of them, but I don't get anybody in trouble. As far as with the female stuff. But we with some crazy stuff, like the gunshots, like I was telling you earlier. We were shot at when we were living in Minneapolis, and he had his 300ZX. We'd been out partying just really hard, and you got this girl, and I was riding in the back. He has the little flip up back of the 300ZX. Me and her riding back there with it open, and he's riding. I think he was giving the girl a ride home. He wasn't messing around. So we were had to go by this girl's house that thought I was with, as it turns out. I hammered. This back in the days of halcyons, which I don't know if those are still around, but you take the little blue things that look like Valiums, but you take a couple of them, and it's just kind of, it's actually made for sleeping, I think. But if you take it and you have a couple of drinks, you really feel good. You have too many drinks with it, you won't remember anything. And so evidently I had too many of them, or too many drinks that I remember. I do remember being in the back of his car and him pulling up and saying, "Well, hurry up." And a couple minutes went by, and we're waiting on the girl, and she ain't coming. And I'm like, "Oh, that's it. I'm not going home by myself." So I go up and start knocking on the door of his house where she went in, and there ain't no answer. And we know she just went in there, so I'm like getting mad or knocking a little louder. And a little louder, and finally banging on the door, and the door flies open as a shotgun comes out. Oh shit! I turn around and start running, and I'm like, bam, bam, bam. Shawn told me, he said, "I can see the grass falling right behind your feet." We were diving in the back of his car, and it's just taking off, and then just hearing gunshots for all the way up the street. And I don't know if who that was, a boyfriend, a father, or maybe it was the wrong house. I don't know what the hell it was. But I mean, we that kind of stuff, and that struggle, and I mean, you got to get close when you have like a special bond to pull each other through the tough times that we went through in Tennessee. Like just barely, 1 meal a day, split in a hotel room. There was nobody partied as much as we did. I mean, there was absolutely nobody. There was a couple of guys that DiBiase and Jake Snake they partied quite a bit, but absolutely nobody partied as much. Shawn and I there would be times that on Monday nights we'd be out hunting someplace to party in a small town. I mean, and we'd be thinking about, do we really want to? Yeah, let's go ahead. We'd just get hammered. And then Tuesday night we'd be in a smaller town. There's just nothing going on. But if there was one girl in the place, just go get drunk. It was, I can't tell you how many times, it was Friday. It was time to party. We looked at each other like, we'll burn out. That was time to go. And we're burnt out. And we just like, and I was telling you, Denver, our town, there was a time where when, we because of the rockers, I'm going to try to say this as safely so nobody gets in trouble as possible. because of the rockers, the character, these rock and roll party guys, the image that they give. So I guess a lot of women believe that that's how we would be. So they try to find us from place to place where we hang out and wherever the hotels we'd be at, lounges. And so the guys used to love hanging around us just because there knew be tons of women around. And in Denver in particular, and this is, you can ask any guys that were around at that time, this is very true. The executive, I can give it another plug here, I don't know if they still exist. The Executive Towers in Denver was right across the street from the arena, the rest of that. And so it was a lounge there. So it was easy. Everybody just knew that all the wrestlers stayed there, so they'd come right across the street. And boy, did we partied, man. And the boys, like, if you wanted to know where are the rockers, what room, what floor, there's like 7 floors. What floor, where are the rockers? They said, don't just take the elevator. Oh, Curt Hennig, as a matter of fact, what it said is, all you do is just open every floor, elevator, and when you see all the women sitting down the hallway, that's their floor. And it was true because, we'll just say one of us, so nobody gets in trouble. One of us used to love women. So messing around with women, that sounded bad. Messing around with women wasn't, well, Shawn was free at a point. He was married for a while, then they got divorced, so then he was able to, to mess around. Before that, he couldn't mess around. So, this is how it worked back in the day. They're in Denver and a couple other places, but Denver was the best. They honestly would be women lined up outside the door. And basically, you'd see whoever you wanted to hang out with for a little bit, have them come in the room. And I'm sure like the actual rock and roll guys, not the rockers, wrestlers, they get the same. This is how it works. They'll know what I'm talking about. You bring them in and you do your thing or whatever, and you say goodnight, you open the door. There's 10, 15, 20 girls sitting there. Oh, hey, Georgia, how you doing? Come here. I haven't seen you in a while. Come in and whatever, and however long or whatever, open the door. Who you haven't met? You come here and meet you, somebody new. We'd have 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock flights in the morning, straight from the last person. There'll still be 1 or 2 stragglers out there at 8 in the morning that you just didn't get around to, and you had to go catch the flight. So it was, those days. Like I said, he was, at the time he was married, he never did any of that. So, well, let me see. Well, there was a couple other towns that were very similar, but I don't get him in trouble, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Leave it alone right there. But yeah, we experienced quite a bit. There was did I tell you the one about the girl in the wheelchair? This might sound cruel, but it wasn't. It was fun. It was she was a good girl. I forget where. I think this was in Denver too. This little black girl that was very pretty. I don't remember what was wrong. She had a motorized wheelchair. And how can I tell this and not be too crude and nasty? She liked me, and I liked her. She was cute, and she was always at the shows. And I remember Shawn telling me one night, "Man, that girl really likes you, man. You ought to make her do something for her, make her feel good." So like what? Okay. So, I don't know, man. She really likes you. So I remember, I thought, okay, I'll take it. The way the hotel was set up, like first floor was like the ballrooms type thing. I'm trying to be nice. I mean, this is going to come off bad, but and Curt of all people I wish he were here to tell the stories. He tells it best, and he's the one that walked in on it. We went on upstairs to the ballroom. There was nobody up there. It was dark, and we just went up there and have a little conversation to ourselves, get away from everybody. And I just remember that somehow or another I might have been dozing off, and I think maybe the girl started taking advantage of me. I would have never been doing this with a girl that or whatever. Not like that. I would have done something decently, not up to the ballroom. But anyway, she's, as Curt tells it, Curt had walked upstairs looking around, and he says, you come up and you could hear the wheelchair squeaky sound, and he's like, what the hell? And he flipped the main light switch on, and the motorized wheelchair. The girl was doing, you know, that sexual thing they do with their what do you call it? Blowjobs? I was out. You know, I was trying to take a nap. He said she's in there. this thing. And I don't. Curt he's not here to tell the story, so we'll have to let it go. But I'm not doubting his story. But, and two, man, I remember after that, I do remember this, and I asked her if I could use her wheelchair for a little while, and it was kind of fun. It was pretty powerful, and I remember riding around in the lounge downstairs and running into everybody's tables and drinking, and into the night, she had, you know, I had to prop her up against the wall. It was something. While she used her wheelchair, she was propped up against the wall. I remember at the end of the night, bringing her wheelchair to her and thanking her and saying good night. And then at the end of the night, it was like almost time to go. We go in bags and coming out and get ready for the airport. And Curt again right there. He's like, Marty, she wants you to sign an autograph for her. And I looked over at her, and she's sitting in her wheelchair and over by the wall. I'm like, well, okay, come over here and I'll sign. Did you really? She goes, yeah. I said, well, come over here and I'll sign. She goes, I can't right now. I'm plugged in. You ran my battery down. So that's just, I mean, Shawn came into that because, I mean, he was around. We just saw the crazy stuff we've done. You know, the fighting our way up little small town redneck bars, you know, we had to do. You know, just we went through so much and good and bad. I mean, when I say the bad, just like I said, sometimes we had, you know, a lot of times you go into smaller towns and the people, the guys get really, you know, they're not intimidated, but they don't like the fact that you're getting attention in their bar. And there's, you know, from time to time we have to really watch each other's back and get out of situations. Those would be the bad things that happened. Actually, you know, a couple other bad things with, you know, Shawn had a problem. Louisville Police Department really screwed him over once. You know, him and Dino Bravo and I don't know if it was somebody, Joey Morella. I know it was him and Dino for sure that went to jail. They took him in that night. It was leaving a place called the Toy Tiger in Louisville. And I think, you know, Shawn does have a habit of when he gets drunk, he'll mouth off to people. I mean, he's usually not, you know, he won't start a fight or nothing, but if he's drunk and you give him a reason, he'll tell you about yourself. And I think that was happening this night. And he does it even more so if he's got a Dino Bravo right nearby, or Scott Hall, or Kevin Nash. I mean, he'll do it just even a little more so. And this night, Dino was there, so he was letting some guy know about himself, and so the police arrested him and Dino. I remember that night, I'd hooked up with this girl that I thought she was beautiful. And I think she is, or was. It's been a girl that worked at the airport there in Louisville. I met her, you know, every time I'd see her, well, she actually got out and about that night and ended up hooking up with her this night. And I'm thinking, you know, it's about 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and I'm, you know, doing our thing, and I'm pretty happy about this, you know, because this girl was great. And phone rings, you know, so I didn't know we left the Toy Tiger, you know, left her. Last I saw was Dino and Shawn and a couple other guys leaving. Everything was fine. I mean, I found out the scream and holler and all that later. But so the phone rings, you know, the boys always ribbon each other. And you know, I'm in the middle of something good. And I answer the phone and Dino Bravo's, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm just enjoying myself. What's up? He says, I'm in jail, man. I hung up the phone. So a few minutes later, the phone rings again. I pick up. Hello. He goes, you motherfucker, you hang up again, I'll kill you. And I'm like, click. I think he's playing, right? Calls back a third time. You motherfucker, don't hang up. And I realized he's serious. He's serious. He goes, yeah, we're in jail. So I'm like, son of a damn, man. And, all right, I'll be right down there. And it was like 5 o'clock. I went down to get him out and bail him out. And they wouldn't let him out until 8 o'clock for some reason. I got there around 5:36. They said, well, I don't know if it had something to do with the alcohol level. They couldn't let him out. They either been in for so many hours or it dropped, their level dropped, whatever it was. So they wouldn't let him out till 8. And I remember sitting there and I had a few drinks. When you drink like that and you stop and you just got to stay awake and just sit there, boy, the headache gets real bad. And I'm sitting there hungover now, and the girl missed out on that and waiting for 8 o'clock to come. And sure, 8 o'clock comes and out comes Dino. He goes storming by. He's mad as hell. And then Shawn comes walking out, and I looked up and he had 2 black eyes. And his like nose was swollen, and over here his lips were just huge. And I mean, it looked nasty. You know? I mean, I was stunned for the first. I just remember staring at him. What the hell happened to you? And he was like, I didn't look like this when I came in this damn place. Oh, wow, man, what happened? He goes, well, shit, if you would have left me in here all damn night. And I'm like, well, man, they wouldn't let you out until 8 o'clock. It's funny, just right about this time, he started, he was upset because of what had happened to him. And he started screaming at me, and I was like, now I'm screaming back because I was going to bail him out. I couldn't help what happened to him in there. Plus, at 8 o'clock, where he could get out. And so I'm yelling back now. We're yelling at each other. And this class, this lady was coming through with like a little 3rd grade class with them running through a jail thing. And they're like, one of the kids recognized me. He was like, look, it's one of the rockers. And she's like, oh, really? What's wrong? And all the kids are hollering. And then me and Shawn look at each other like, fuck you, no, fuck you. And the lady said, okay, kids, come this way. Let's go this way. Never mind. You don't want to see the rockers right now. And, but that thing turned out, I guess Shawn, I think what happened, the Nasty Boys, every time they get arrested, they end up cutting up with the cops and then taking pictures, which happens a lot anyway. I mean, if you're out in the public eye, most of the time you're going to take Polaroids and sign picture autographs and stuff, and they're going to take it as easy as they can on you. The Nasty Boys just always had a way of making everybody laugh, and they used to, I remember one time when they got fingerprinted, and they just dabbed it all over their face before they got their mug shots, so they got fingerprints. So I think Shawn was there for that, and I think he was just trying to cut up, and those guys, doing the same kind of thing, posing for his mug shot, and I think one of them took exception, and I thought he was being a wise ass, and started calling names or whatever, and then it escalated from there to they ended up handcuffing him. He said they handcuffed him, his hands behind his back and the things to the legs, and they started kicking the shit out of him in the jail cell. And I mean, they did a badass number to him, and then they said somebody came by, like a nurse or something, come by and said, well, get this guy, at least get him some ice or whatever. I mean, he needs some medical attention. To get somebody else. I think they said that somebody else in another jail, one of the other somebody arrested beat him up. So what they told the doctor or something. The doctor said, well, get him some ice. And that. Shawn said the guy come by and threw the bag of ice at him. And it slid over, and he was like cuffed. He had to scoot over to put his head on the ice. And that was nasty. I mean, that was a rough thing. And then Shawn was thinking would sue him, the police department. And Vince, told Vince what happened, and the show couldn't be on TV. I mean, he looked horrible. And then, of course, Vince was like, no, just let it go. Which I was like, oh my God. I mean, I don't know how Shawn swallowed that one. I guess like I did to Scott Hall, and just had to swallow that one. Yeah. And I have Vince that he didn't want the publicity for it or whatever. He's just like, nope, leave it alone. But just talking about some of the things we went through. It was good, bad, and of course we had our own little fallout once, and
we're about to run out of tape.
Okay.
We'll change it. You started to mention that you were having a falling out with Shawn. What exactly happened?
Yeah, well, this was I don't know if things were starting to go on. One thing Shawn always talked about is he always wanted to go and do the singles thing, and I didn't really care a whole lot about it. But I always said that when he was ready, just let me know. But I was pretty much, at one time I thought I was just do 10 years in this business and I was done. I didn't know I'd spend the rest of my life and still love it today just like I did the first day. But I mean, I always thought, okay, I just want to do this for a little bit. When you're ready to go singles, just let me know. So I don't know if it's starting to get close to the time and he's ready, whatever. But I mean, it was just a little bit. We were starting to have friction like we didn't before. And actually, it started one night we were out eating. I think it was Phoenix, Arizona, at a Denny's or whatever it was. And I remember Shawn, every night he'd call his wife. After we got through the show, we'd go somewhere to eat, we'd order, and then go call the wife. Wife's waiting, which is good, kills the wait time for the food. I remember this night, he seemed a little roused for the whole day anyway. I think maybe him and his wife were having problems, but he came back to the table after he made his phone call. He came back, threw his plate down, or silverware, and I know he's flustered real bad, but what's the matter? God, fucking wife. So I didn't want to bother, Okay. Didn't know it was real quiet for a minute. So, anything you want to talk about? He goes, oh, damn it. Okay. So just kind of letting it go. And said, you want to talk? I don't listen. He goes, nothing, man. She just pissing me off. She went to a high school football game. And I kind of snickered, right? And he looks at me and goes, what the fuck's so funny? I was like, nothing, man. He goes, you're laughing at my fucking wife? I'll kick your fucking teeth down your throat. You're laughing at wife. And I was like, we'd never made no threats to one another like that. And I was like, I wasn't laughing at your wife. I was laughing at you, getting upset that she was in a high school football game. You don't fucking know what's going on. Just fucking shut up. I thought, wow. And we'd never had no words like that ever. That was the first time ever. And the entire, at that point, 6.5 years probably, never had we done anything like that. And it really bothered me. And so,
how far before? Sorry to cut you off. How far before was this? Before you guys broke up as a team?
About probably right at 6 months.
Okay.
It was maybe 2 days later in Denver, our town. We were sitting around the room. We had Roddy Piper was in the room, it was me, Shawn. I had a couple, 2 or 3 girls that came to visit me. We're standing around having a beer, a house down. We're talking business, which was usually, you didn't do that in front of the rats or girls or whatever you want to call them, fans. You usually didn't do that. You didn't talk business from them. But Roddy was telling Shawn how great he was, and he was just rubbing his hands through Shawn's hair and just, I love you, buddy. You're gonna be great. Then he looked over at me and he's like, "Boy," he just put his hand on his shoulders. We're gonna have to work with you a little bit. We a little rough around the edges, blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah. No big deal. I love the constructive criticism, but all he said was just rough around the edges. I don't know how to fix that. He didn't give me like, what does that mean? What do I need to work out? Lose weight? Jump higher? What do I need to rough around the edges? Then he go back to Shawn. And, God, buddy, you're so good. And he's just kissing him on the cheek, rubbing his hands on Shawn's hair, pulling his hair, pulling him right in his face, and just telling him he loves him and he's great. And then he turns to me again and goes, we're going to figure out what it is. You just need something different. There's something missing in your act. So I'm like, I wish you'd tell me what it is so I can fix it. And back to Shawn, hugging on him, kissing on him. And but the third time he comes back to me and hits me with, there's just something missing in your character. And I'm like looking over at the girls and Roddy. So then, we talk business when we have girls around. And from there, Shawn double right in the chest, showed me. He's like, "Don't disrespect Roddy." And then that was from there. It was fist going. And even to this day, I don't think I've ever hit a friend before. I've never fought a friend. I've never hit a friend. And so, there must have been a lot of something building up between both of us that I didn't even realize. I don't even know now how I hit a friend. But I think he stumbled and I ended up falling on top of him or something. And so, got up to leave the room. He was a tough ass, man. He tackled me behind and tried to keep it going, and it ended up the same way. And I got up and walked out again, was out in the hallway, and come and tackle me out there in the hallway. And, like every time he tackled me, his momentum would take him right past me where he ended up back on top. And And but I get up and walk away. But you know, Roddy, this day Roddy was stirring that shit up. I remember going out in the hallway and getting away from it totally now. And then finally some of the girls or something grabbed Shawn and it's like, come here, just get away from each other. And Roddy kept pushing the girls back. So, leave them alone. They're men. And I'm like, oh my God, man. I mean, at the time I didn't realize that. I mean, the girls had told me the next time they were like, Roddy was causing that stuff. And man, it got so heated. I mean, there was one point where we evidently were loud. Because the security guy, the elevator door was ding, opened up, and this little Barney Fife looking security guy comes walking out, and I looked at him, what are you gonna do? What do you want? He's like, he goes back in, punches the doors, and then leaves. And they were going back into the room, and like, you know, trying to squash this little thing we got going on with me and Shawn, and he's sitting on the bed, and he was like a little bit of blood or something, and the girls were trying to. I had some towels trying to clean them off. And I remember looking and going, damn. And I was already feeling bad about what was happening. And I remember sticking my hand out and saying, look, man, I'm sorry, man. Just, you know, he was like, slapped my hand down. He's like, fuck you. And that was pissed me off. He slapped my hand down trying to say, I'm sorry. He slapped my hand down. I started getting pissed off again. And I said, I'm sorry, damn it. You know, they started to go right back up. Well, the girls, and I do remember the girls grabbed me then trying to take me outside. And Roddy getting the girls and taking them and saying, you know, you guys need to wait outside, and shutting them out. I remember that now. There's a point there, just out of fit of rage. I don't remember. The girls just said that, you know, once that door shut, it was like a second later, they could hear that sound again. And I remember, I don't really remember this either, but everybody told me about it. I remember opening the door and leaving in a rage. And now the real cop comes out, the elevator door ding opens up, and I'm still pissed off. What are you gonna do? What do you want? And the cop's like pulls his gun. And again, I don't doubt this, but I don't remember this. But the girl said, you know, that as the cop had the gun out, so I was like, what are you gonna do? Shoot me? What are you gonna do? Shoot me? And I just kept taking slow steps toward him. I said, what are you gonna do? Shoot me? And the cop, she said, the cop raised him up, said, don't make me do this, son. Don't make me do this, son. And I mean, she said, she hollered my name, Marty. She was, and it was like I snapped out of it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he handcuffs me and took me downstairs. Then a bunch of other cops coming. They took me downstairs and they're going to take me to jail. And Macho Man just happens to be coming in. And here I'm coming out, handcuffed. Police take me in. Randy's coming in, and they recognize him. You know, the police did. Oh, look, it's Randy Savage. They had no idea who I was. They saw Randy. This is Macho Man. And they look, it's Randy Savage. Randy Savage. He looks at me and he looks at the guys. You know what we got going on here? And I'm like, Randy is Shawn. We were working an angle, man. Randy's like, oh yeah, they do that all the time. These guys are good. No, but they're trying to stir up the crowd for next time. And the cops are like, I had blood all in front of my pants, and there was blood up in the thing there. The cops were like, I don't know if these guys didn't Randy. Oh no, it's part of the business. They said, we're not really doing this. You know what they say, blood capsules. And the guys go, the cops are down there like, well. Randy's like, oh, don't worry, everything's okay. And so the guy's like, so, well, you know, we'll let him go to you, you know. And then they asked for autographs. They said, we'll let him go to you, but if we have to come back again, we got to take him to jail. No problem, I got it. And so they let me go to Randy. As soon as we get away, Randy goes, what the hell's going on, brother? And I said, man, it's Shawn. He goes, who's y'all jump on? I said, no, each other. And he goes, oh my God, brother. I'm sorry to hear that. And I remember getting in the elevator with him and then another blackout period, because the next thing I know, I wake up and I look and I'm like, oh my God. And I see this crater face thing and I'm like, this the ugliest girl. Oh, and the first thing I start thinking of Ricky Morton used to always say, I've never gone to bed with an ugly girl, but woke up with quite a few. I'm like, oh my God, I could not have done this with this girl. Oh, that is ugly. And I'm like, I'm going to be real quiet and get out of here. So I started trying to he's bed up and it starts moving this person. Like, oh shit! Oh, don't wake up! I don't want to say goodbye. Oh, don't tell me. Then I was like, well, at least I got my clothes on. Maybe nothing happened. And then I seen the blood, like the blood was from a passing. You know, like, you know, then I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell's? And I looked at this Roddy Piper. They got us away from each other. I ended up sleeping in the room with the same bed with him. And then it all came back. Oh shit, man! You know. Then I remembered the bad scene, and you know, figuring out what to do. And we had to go to a TV taping. We were in Denver, and I think we had to go. No, we had to go up to Seattle that day, and went to TV taping just a couple of days later. But I remember going up to the room, and Shawn was, you know, still. He was underneath the covers totally, you know, and I didn't know what to say. You know, and I remember just packing his stuff. I hadn't even been packed or anything. And my shit, so I'm packing his stuff in mine. I'm like, come on, Shawn. I'm trying to just blow past him like it didn't happen. Come on, man, we gotta go. Come on. He's like, fuck you. I said, no, come on, man, we gotta go. Come on, because it was like we had to hurry to get to the flight. And then he just said, oh, fuck you. And I was like, man, come on, just forget about last night. He goes, fuck, I quit. Like, quit? You can't quit. And then he jumps up out of the covers. He says, I was supposed to go to work like this. And it was bad, you know. And then, I mean, I almost felt like crying. I honestly did, because that was my friend. And, you know, I didn't know what to say. And I knew, you know, I felt bad. Meaning, but I didn't know what to do. So I was trying to talk him. I said, come on, man, you got to go. No, he goes, I really did. I called Vince and told him to quit. That much I didn't even know how to, you know, I didn't know how to respond to that. So I got my bag and just said, "Come on, let's go." He wouldn't leave. So went up to Seattle and went there without him. You know, the boys were like, "Where's Shawn? What happened?" And I guess Vince ended up having Shawn come to Phoenix, which that was where the TV taping was. It was in Phoenix or Tucson, one of those Arizona places. I just remember it was in Arizona, and so. We had to both sit down with Vince and, you know, kind of make up and everything, which was fine. I mean, like I said, I you know, felt as bad as good about it. You know, it ain't like, you know, it ain't something I wanted to do. Shawn wouldn't quit. I mean, honestly, every time I'd leave, he'd tackle me behind. It was a tough son of a bitch. I mean, and Roddy was causing that shit. You know, I mean, even to this day, Roddy, that was bullshit. But, so, you know, that happened. We kind of, you know, we made up even that day, you know, I mean, in front of Vince. I mean, you know, we you know, had to shake hands in front of Vince, but after it was over, you know, we did, you know, apologize so many times and we hugged and, you know, hey, you know, let it go. But I honestly don't think he'd ever let that go. Yeah. I really don't. I know he never says much about it, or I don't know if he does what he says when I ain't around, but you know, I think that has a lot to do more than anything of all the things that, you know, that people say that, well, I wonder why he made it and he didn't help you out, or why y'all aren't close no more, or, you know, was it because you were a fuck up? Was it because there's another story I'm going to get out right here that Shawn told it pretty decently, but left off a big part. It was very incorrect. And that was about us quitting, and it would be my idea. So I'll come back and hit that. But I believe if, you know, if anyone wants to know whatever was the real deal behind why y'all just, I think it was all over that. And there's really nothing more I can do than apologize because it happened. He was just as much a part of it as I was, you know. And we can't hit a rewind button and go make something not happen, you know. But so just to finish on here, we ended up tagging for a little while after that, and then not a whole lot longer because it was. Let me see. I'll tell you how did that work. I know what it was. We had to do a TV shoot commercial. And it was for Superstar cereal. And Shawn had actually missed it some time at one point because Shane Douglas was filling in for him. You know, we were doing the rocker thing. And I'm trying to think if this is in the right order, if this happened before the fight, after the fight, but it's right in the neighborhood. But either way, I'm thinking it was after the fight thing. But anyway, Shawn was out. I think he'd hurt his knee, on his motorcycle. He did something, it was raining, he put his leg down and tore something in his knee a little bit, so he was out for a little bit. But they flew, and we'd had a meeting with Vince right prior to this about, how you had asked, had we ever said anything to him about about being a bigger part of the company. We did. We had a meeting with him, and we said we would like to have a bigger role. We're just mediocre, middle line, meaningless matches. We'll do whatever you want. I mean, we'll work harder. We'll make more personal appearances. We'll do, but we want to be a bigger part of the company. What do we need to do? Vince shook our hands and just did it. So, okay. And that includes our pay scale will increase. He shook our hands. Everything's good. So this commercial for Superstar Cereal, I remember flying in. It was at the end of a tour for me. And that Shawn was home in Tampa. He'd been home. They flew him into Atlanta for the commercial. And, we had to sign these spring active deal things, contracts, because this is our second commercial. I think you're allowed one commercial for free, which we did with our action figure dolls. This one we had to join the Screen Actors Guild. So we're, wrestling wise, promoters know not to let each other see what you're going with the Screen Actor Guild. They just threw the contracts out there for us to go through, and we could see what everybody's getting paid, which was, bad news. We were getting the least amount of pay on everybody that was on there. I think we were getting $5,000 a piece, him and I, and everybody else was getting $10,000. And so we thought, well, maybe it's because we're a team, but then we looked, and the Legion of Doom was getting 10 apiece. Natural disasters, which was typhoon and earthquake, were getting 10 apiece. We were the only, and everybody else, individuals, we were the only ones getting 5. So Shawn, this is where his version of this is a little different. This is the truth part. And if he's going to be as Christian that he's saying he is now, he'll fess up to this. He got pissed off. Fuck this shit, let's quit. I've always been a goof, and that's all I eat. And he said, nothing, you want to quit, I'll do it. He's like, no, really, just quit. I said, hell, we just had a meeting. Look how you screwed that bullshit. Let's just quit. So, all right, if we really want to do this, I'll go make the call now. Just do it. Go tell him we quit. So, there's a pay phone right there on the wall of this place where the studio. They go right over and call. So I'm going to call him. And I remember getting Pat Patterson. That's Pat said, Marty, how you doing? I said, I'm good. I need to talk to Vince. He goes, Marty, Vince is busy right now. Can I help you? So I was just telling him me and Shawn want to quit. He goes, oh shit, hold on, Marty. And then about a minute later, Vince is on the phone. And, he's like, what's the problem? I said, well, what do we got to do? I mean, how do we we want to give our notice to finish up? And this was 3 weeks before Survivor Series. I remember this. And Vince is like, well, what's the problem? I said, we just want to give our notice. And, is it got to be written, verbal? I mean, what do we got to do? He goes, well, can we come into TV and talk about it? I said, no, we've already done our talking to you. It didn't seem to do any good. And he what's the problem? I said, well, we just want to give a notice. That's all I kept saying to him. He's like, we can talk at TV. No, we won't give a notice. That's true. I mean, Shawn will tell you that, I got no diplomacy or whatever, but no, that was, we'd already talked. There was nothing to talk about. And, so anyway, you at that time, you had to have 3 months, 3 months before you either written or whatever. But that meant they beat you for 3 months, 90 days. That's a lot of beat down before. That way you're devalued before you go to the next place. Vince is looking at this. Let me see where you're at. He's looking at the books. And he goes, well, he says, you're in the Survivor Series, which is, like I said, 3 weeks away. He goes, I'll let you finish up there. So I'm like, to me now, I'm about to thank him. Are you serious? He goes, I see no reason to keep you where you don't want to be, where you don't want to be. So I'm like, thank you, sir. Because I'm like, oh my God, because that was it, Survivor Series. We're not going to win that little thing. That don't mean shit anyway. But we're not going to get beat down for the next 90 days on TV. So I'm happy. I hang up and I turn around and I'm probably grinning. And Shawn's like, what do you say? And I said, you ain't going to believe this. He says, what? He's going to let us finish up the Survivor Series. Shawn looks at me and his mouth drops. He goes, he's going to let us quit? And I was like, no, it's not a matter of letting. We just told him we quit. He goes, he's going to let us fucking quit? Now I'm thinking, oh shit, Shawn, didn't you just say just quit? Didn't you just say that? He goes, he's going to actually let us. I was like, well, I'm confused here. I'm very confused. You just said, let's call him, tell him we quit. I did. He goes, yeah, but he's just going to let us. I said, well, I mean, he said we could talk at TV if you wanted. Shawn didn't say nothing. I'm like, oh man, I don't feel good about this. I'm not thinking very good about this. But that's what happened right there. Now we go get on our flights to go home. He goes to Tampa. He had his place in Tampa at the time. I had my house in Orlando. I flew home. I don't know what time it was, 5:30. I get in, go check my answering machine messages. The last one on there is Vince. Marty, give me a call at the office. I can talk to you. So I'm like, okay, I give him a call. And what's up? Marty says, if you want to stay or remain here, I can't remember the exact thing when he was saying about wrestling singles or something. You're welcome to stay and wrestle singles. You don't have to quit. And I'm like, oh, no. I said, no, man, no. Shawn and I are together on this. I mean, I'm not going to go behind his back. He goes, well, he says, it's funny. Shawn just called me, said he had nothing to do with that. That was all your decision. I don't know what was said after that. I mean, I remember hanging. I think I said, I'll call you back. I hung up on this and called Shawn immediately down in Tampa. Remember him answering, I said, Shawn, I said, tell me it ain't true. Tell me this ain't. He's like, what was it? Tell me it ain't true. Vince just told me you called him and said this was all my decision. Shawn's like, Marty, he goes, man, I thought about it. He goes, you know what? He goes, you're single. I'm married. He goes, your house is already paid off. I'm having to make 4 mortgage payments. He goes, I can't afford to quit. I said, but that's fine. But why did you call him, tell him that I was only my idea? You're the one, son of a. And I think that was the beginning of, I think the next TV taping was where we had to sit down with Vince. And I remember coming to that TV and a lot of the guys had already heard what had happened. I remember a few of the guys coming up and saying, yeah, we heard what your partner did. Because I think one of the agents got wind of it, of how it all actually went down. And then he told a couple of guys, and all the guys told the guys. And Wayne Bloom even coming up and said, man, you want me to whip his ass? That's bullshit, man. He's supposed to be your friend. That's bullshit. Like, no, man. No. It's, it just had happened. But so that very TV, we went and sat with Vince. And, Shawn had always made the agreement, because the WWF always splits guys up when they want to, when they've had, like any of the parties. I mean, anybody, they've always been known for that. Yeah. When they're done with them, they split them up. Well, Shawn and I, when we came in as a team, we came in as our little unit there, we had an agreement that we would always, when it was time to split up, it's our thing. Because that's what I was telling you earlier, how we said, when you're ready to go in singles, just let me know. We'll do this. Don't let them split. That was always our thing. We're not letting them split us up. And Vince set us down that day and he says, something, we're thinking it's over. I think it's time for the split. And, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, well, Shawn, if we could sit and talk about it. Shawn's sitting right here, and Vince's right there where you are. And I'm like, well, Shawn, I probably need to talk about it first. Shawn goes, I'm all right with it. Just like that, right? I'm like, okay, I guess it's okay. Right? Good conversation we had, Shawn. Thanks. But, and then from there, we started talking about where we wanted to go with it. Vince is like, want to take, we want Shawn, we're going to make him a superstar. And that's, I was happy for Shawn, but I'm thinking, oh, damn, man, what about me? What are you going to do with me? And, so, and he says, I want you guys to, I know you guys are going to have barn burner matches, the best year, you guys can't wait to see these matches. And so he goes, well, we want Shawn over Strong in the end. So I'm thinking, not a problem with that, but just what will happen to me now? And so I asked him, I said, where will I go? Well, I don't mind this at all, as long as I know I got some security and I'm still in the company. When I'm done here, I ain't getting released ever. And I'm not going down to a bottom, opening match kind of thing. And he's like, well, he says, quite honestly, we see superstar in Shawn. I just don't see that in you. So that was like a gush. I was like, ooh. So I was like, well, would you at least give me an opportunity to prove you wrong? And he said, I like that attitude. I certainly will. So, to start off that big endeavor of proving him wrong when I got drunk as shit that night and got depressed as hell because I thought, man, I kind of felt that was going to be the end of it all. But And that was, and then of course we did the barbershop window shortly after that. That's where we did the window thing.
What do you think of that angle?
What do I think of it?
Yeah.
I think it was great. I heard Shawn say how he talked about that was his whole idea, that he even said something about he actually thought of it for the Nasty Boys, it was him and us and the Nasty Boys or something. But Shawn and I had talked about that together for quite a while. In fact, we had so many different ideas on it, different ways of doing it. But I think it was great. I mean, I think the way it was, I mean, she had kids today, man. The little kids come up and talk about it, and they weren't even born yet. Like, how do you know it was on video? But it's still, for the people that saw it, man, like I could do independent shows now. Like the guys, the young guys, younger guys on the car, they come up and talk about that, in particular. Oh, I was so heartbroken when I saw that. That really had a negative impact on me, and all this stuff. I mean, so it was a hell of a thing. Like I said, I think Shawn took, not that it matters, but took the full credit. Like, oh, that was on my idea. But I think maybe the window part of it. But I mean, we had talked about, the barbershop. We actually talked about several things that would have been great for the split. But when we got into the barbershop, we just kicked around there, which we did that on everything we did. We both would kick around, about this, that, for matches, for angles, for whatever. Then of course we got into, we did the split. Another thing that Shawn likes to tell, or I say the reason I say he likes to tell, it's just I saw it on the video joke y'all deal with it, was how I kept talking about I had a deal with the guys down in the NWA. Now you were asking earlier about the NWA. Now the only time I did contact anyone down there, I was told that they had no interest in bringing Shawn. They didn't like Shawn. There was too many guys that had heat with Shawn in the dressing room. And they also felt that Shawn, they said, I didn't understand this because it was always Shawn and I, but they said, felt too much like Shawn represents WWF. Whatever that, and I mean, we were never, I think we did have singles. He had single matches with Flair, had a single match, a couple of single matches, one with DiBiase. So maybe, but that, I don't know, that's enough that they look at it like he represents WWF. We don't want him here. Yeah. In fact, I would think that would be a plus to pull somebody away and take them, still one of the guys. I think the real thing was he had a lot of heat with the guys down there. That's what I was told. And, I didn't, Shawn, we already had that little spat, and there wasn't anything else for him to think I was bullshitting him or something. So I wasn't going to tell him that, Shawn, I don't want you down there. So I told him, so there's nothing going there. But the way he tells it, I kept telling him, we got something. Then when we did that thing where we were calling in and quit, then I said, I was just kidding. I didn't ever call nobody, which makes it look like I'm a jerk off. And he makes it like, that's the reason he said enough. I'm splitting off from here. But I mean, what you just heard is actually the truth. And, but after we did the split off the barbershop thing, and there was one more little thing that I mean, whether this is true or not, I don't know, but I would believe Curt wouldn't tell me a lie on this, Curt Hennig. We did the barbershop. I had a problem. I got some legal trouble down in Tampa, Florida. But it almost worked out good because they threw me through the window. Then I was gone for 6 months. I was only supposed to be gone for like a couple of weeks.
Is that why it disappeared from TV?
Yeah, 6 months. I had to do 6 months house arrest. Down in Tampa, Florida, I was with a girl who was 20 years old. She worked at the Dollhouse strip club down in Dallas. She was with me this night. We were going into a place called the Yucatan Liquor Stand, which was a hot happening bar in Tampa. And Frankie Lancaster, I think was working the door. I don't know if it was him or a dude named Thumper. But it was one of the boys in the indie scene. They knew who I was, and they also knew who she was. Yeah. Angela was they knew she danced next door, so they knew she was underage. So they told me, said, look, don't let her get in no trouble in here, because she's underage, let us in. This little girl, man, she was a little spark plug, man, she was a little fire. She was probably 5 foot tall, big, tennis little waist, little petite thing, cute. But she would fight in a minute. And she went inside and went to the bathroom or something other, and it was a girl I was talking to a friend I knew. It was just a friend, but it was happened to be a girl. Angela come out of the bathroom and see me talking to her, so we're grabbing out her cussing. Oh shit, stop. And next thing you know, the cops were right there, like, you guys come with us. And Angela's grabbing a hold of me and she's like, don't leave me, come with me. Which I was going to, at her intention to, but I'm thinking, damn, what's going to happen? Because I know she's underage. And we get outside and the cop wants to ask for ID. And she's like, hitting her little purse. You got pictures of this little petite girl now. She had that kind of top, it was like a tube top. Yeah. And this was back in the days when that pink and yellow and green neon stuff was popular. They had one of those tops on and a little skirt, little petite thing, cute. But she's in a little purse, and the cops want to open the purse, and she's like, keeps turning away. She ain't got an ID. I mean, she's faking like she's looking for it. The cop keeps trying to like turn and look around and see what in her purse, and she keeps turning around. And she reaches out and kicks him in the shin, and like shoves him away from her. And when she did, he picked her up like we call it back to belly back suplex. He slammed her down to the road. Now I'm standing right here, and he slams her down to the road. Then he grabbed her by the back of the head, by her hair, and banged her head off the road once. I mean, I'm sure it was a big continuation, but the once, and my reaction immediately was, I scooped him and snatched him right up. And I mean, it was like a reflex before I realized, oh shit, it's a cop, And with that, I mean, I remember putting my hands right there immediately. I was like, oh shit. But at the same time, I just saw him slam this girl down the road, and bang her head on the road, and then I remember I get my back. Somebody's jumping back. I'm thinking somebody from the club, and threw the scarf. She's like bent over. It was one of those momentum things. He hit me and fling him over. It's another cop. It was another cop. Like, oh shit! And so I mean, I'm like, here, please stop. And so as it turned out, too. Now the cop's name was Hopper. He comes up to me. He's right in my face, yelling at me. He's like, I can't believe you're acting like an asshole like this. You're acting like an asshole, and you son, my kid's got posters of you in his bedroom, and wait till I tell him how you're acting like an asshole. I'm like, sir, I mean, you're beating up a girl, and it was the girl I'm with. And he's like, I hate beating her up. It's police protection. She can have anything in her pocketbook. As he beating her head off the road. He goes, see, that's what I mean. You're a smart ass. I can't believe you. So it goes on, and he's like, I may let you go. I ain't decided yet. I don't know. I just can't tell my kid I arrested you. So I remember too, the girl Angela, when they slung her down, she got up her tits and her top was popped down. Now he was able to put his hands on her, slam her down, and grab her and do all that. And now her tits are hanging out, and she's like, "Could you please?" It's got her handcuffed. He won't pull her top up, and she's, "Will you please pull my top up?" There's people coming out now, and he's like, "Oh, I'll have to get a woman to do it. I can't touch you." Because he beat her up, but he couldn't pull her tits back in her thing. But anyway, so that ended up, and then they come over. The guy just pat me down. He goes, "I'm gonna probably let you go." He passed me down. And he reaches in the coat pocket I got and he pulls out a little packet of coke. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, I didn't know I had that. Oh my God, is that something I had? Because I hadn't, that night, I was like, maybe that's something I left in there to myself, I'm thinking. I'm like, well, why the hell did I have that in my pocket? Why would I? And he's like, well, that's what it's all about. No, that's why all this or whatever. And I'm like, I must have had to look like I was. And finally, Angela, she goes, "It's mine, sir." She goes, "I put it in there." And then he went over and screamed and hollered at her again. He says, "Now he's going to have to go to jail, blah, 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 all this shit," which I did. They arrested me for the possession of that and obstruction of justice with violence for snatching him off. Mm-hmm. And then with the police reports and everything, we got with her saying it was her thing and everything. They dropped the possession and it ended up being obstruction of justice and violence, which gave me 6 months house arrest. So I was gone for that 6 months.
That just coincidentally happened.
Yeah, right after that thing. So 6 months. But the cool thing, Vince called like a couple of times. Of course, he had a vested interest, I guess, right? Yeah. I thought it was just cool of him to call and check. He called a couple of times. How you doing? It was not good, man. Because at the time, when I moved to Orlando, I was living with a girl I'd been living with for a few years, and we split up. And so I basically moved to Orlando for her. She was acting and modeling, so it was a move for her. I didn't know too many people in Orlando, so no family, nobody. So it was like, what do you call it? Solitary confinement into my house there. I was going crazy, And so Vince was like, just he would always say something. Vince is very good about it. He says just the right thing at the time, whatever's going on to help. And usually we always tell him, just hang in there, don't worry, everything's waiting when you get done. Which I thought was cool. He made a few calls there during that 6 months. But then 6 was up. Came back to work. That's when I came out. The thing where I came out of the crowd. When Shawn with the mirror, where he ended up hitting Sherry. That was the beginning of us getting back into our thing.
Was it difficult to work with Shawn after?
No.
Okay.
Shit, that was the easiest and the best matches. Yeah. By far.
Even personally, after everything that happened between.
No, I mean, I was, for Paul Lee, is probably the only person's business that I really think, but I still like it. I mean, I get over stuff, probably I shouldn't. But everything was fine. I thought everything was fine anyway. I don't know, like I said, where Shawn's mind was, but no, it was, when you're working with each other and when you're doing what we were doing, I mean, we were going out and putting in 20-minute matches that had people standing for 20 minutes. Then when you do that with somebody, I mean, bygones got to be bygones because you're bonding in a new way.
Do you have any memories of the match you had against Shawn at the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, that was the other thing. That was the other thing I said. I got to believe Curt on this. We'd gone around, getting the match down for the Rumble, which is what he did back then. He put you with your guys so you get it down really good before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I got to burn it up now. It was offensive. Shawn and I were having matches that the agents were calling back and telling Vince, because they always reported back, and they were telling Vince that these matches they're blowing the show away. They're unreal. They're still in the show every night. And we worked 6 years, 7 years together as a team, and it got to a point where we could just look at each other and know what we wanted to do. We didn't have to talk. So it was the same way when we were working against each other. We could tell. We look at just the expression. Sometimes any expression is almost like our minds connected. And we just knew what the other one wanted to do. And we got it down to Denver, our town again. That was the single best match I think I've ever had a point at one match. That one night was the absolute best one match of my career for me. It was 25 minutes. And from the opening bell, because we jump started, from opening bell, 25 minutes later, we did not stop. We didn't slow down. And, we'd always hear about the thin air in Denver. I never really noticed it till that night. I mean, all those years of going there, that thin air thing to me, was like, bullshit. That night, because we just had it going. And, connected again, like that connection with the people. It was like a magic. It was like magic again. It was almost like our bodies were there, and that was it. Somebody else was making them move and do what they were doing. I remember about 20 minutes in or something, Shawn and I both kind of looked at it like the wind, and I think this was one of the first major times fed off the energy of the people to where, because we were like, at least I know in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm out of gas. The air's got me. And we still had a good 5 minutes to go. I mean, where we were in the match, where we had to get to. And I remember thinking, I was almost going to panic because we'd burn it down at that point. Don't want to fizzle out the last, and two, I was panicking because it was burning, the lungs were burning, the air, breathing so hard. This thing, it's like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And it was the people were so connected, and that man was so into it. It was as if their energy that was all focused in the middle of the ring was what put us on autopilot. As far as we're going, or in front of my kids, I was going off their energy. I mean, they were feeding me the energy to continue to going. And when it was all said and done, after we were done, I remember walking in the back and just kind of like collapsing over the corner after the adrenaline's gone. You're like, oh God. I remember Blackjack Lanza coming over and just saying, never seen nothing like that, kid. And Shawn and I remember us hugging and thinking that's what we want tomorrow night. It was the next night, it was the night before in Sacramento. I think it was Rumble there. And, that's, Shawn said, that's what we want. That's what we got to do, is duplicate that tomorrow night. And so, come the Royal Rumble, we've gotten our match down to a damn T, perfect. Let's interject Sherry now. We're going to put a spot here. We're going to put a spot there. It just threw off the entire rhythm, everything we just built up. And I think, I had a late night. Honestly, did have a late night that night before the show. Real late night. In fact, I don't know if I went to bed until about 6 or 7 in the morning. I mean, we had to be in the building at 12. I think actually later. I mean, I know it was daylight. And I mean, I won't lie about it. I was up late. I was cutting up with some girls until real late. So I was beat, man. I was dead ass tired. And you have to be there all day on the pay-per-views or your TV tapes. You got to be there all day. So I come in and like as always, I mean, there's nothing unusual. I came in, laid down, take a nap, just like there were 60 guys there, probably 30 others are doing the same thing. And somehow or another, the match, of course, didn't go. I mean, I know I missed a couple spots on it. I mean, Sherry's thing threw the timing off a little bit from what we had. Not saying that's what caused me to forget my spots. But I mean, what we had, I mean, I had no problem with that, but just throwing that in and me being tired, I did. I mean, I remember a couple of times, I mean, once in particular, he was screaming at me, like, no, get over there, whatever. And I don't remember what it was, but that turned into the next day. Vince called me. The next day was a TV taping, regular taping, on that Raw, whatever it was. Called me in the office, or in his little, where he was making his office there. Said, "Already gotta let you go." Like, what? Oh, after that match, too. I mean, it wasn't what we could have done, but it wasn't horrible. And Vince, I remember walking up, and Vince called me and Shawn over, which he'd always praise our work always. So I'm thinking he's gonna say something nice, and he walks up and goes, very disappointed with that match. And I'm like, oh damn, it must have been a lot worse than I thought it was. And he was like, I've been hearing how great you were, and I was expecting you guys to steal the show, and quite frankly, that was far from it. I'm thinking, damn. So, that next day when he calls me in and he says, he's letting me go. And I'm like, what? You let me go? He said, I said, you're letting me go? What do you mean you let me go? There's nothing you can say over it. The decision's been made, I've got to let you go. And I'm thinking, because of the matches, I said, you're going to let me go because there was a bad match? You need to go out there and fire everybody out there. It's about half your guys. If you go fire them for a bad match, he goes, the fact of the matter was I was told you were drunk in the dressing room. So now, because I was sleeping, I was drunk. And I had a special clause in we were drug tested and steroids and all that stuff. I even had drinking added to mine because I got a couple, spats with people when I was drinking. So he said, you don't need to drink, put you on a no drinking thing. And so, I mean, I said, Vince, test me. I mean, if you think I've been drinking yesterday, I'll show up today. Test me. Because no matter what you say, the decision's been made. So, I mean, I was like fucking heartbroken, I just did 6 months that I missed. Now I'm back for 2.5 months, and now he's never letting me go again. I mean, he's letting me go. He didn't actually let me go, but I mean, I'm gone again. So, I was really, that crushed me because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why we didn't let go because the match wasn't what he expected. I thought the being drunk in the dressing room, I didn't believe that. I thought that was just the excuse he was given. And, remember, I think Al Snow took me to the airport, but I think I was damn near part of crying because I couldn't understand it. And so I went home and just said, I did get drunk and stupor for about 2 months. I mean, and did a lot more than the stuff I should have done. Spent a lot of time in the hood doing stuff I should have done. But I mean, it hurt me so bad. I was just trying to drown the pain. And then one day, Curt Hennig calls. One evening, I was at home, and Curt Hennig calls. And Curt and Vince got along real well. I guess Vince had him up to his place a few times. And I mean, Curt's cool. I mean, you have to love Curt. And I think Vince really liked Curt. And they were riding, I guess, one night in the limo to one of the towns. Curt was telling me, he says, Marty, I got your job back for you. So I'm thinking, fuck you, Curt, man. I don't feel like playing about it. It's not funny. He goes, no, I'm serious. You're going to get a call. I got your job back. So what are you talking about? He goes, well, here's what happened. He goes, well, Vince told me what Shawn did. I'm like, what do you mean what Shawn did? He goes, well, Vince told me that Shawn told him that night at the Royal Rumble he had to lead you around by the nose because you were drunk in the ring. So, I mean, and then Curt says, and I'm like, I'm not knowing how to take this. Is Curt messing with me? Is he ribbing or, but Curt continues. He said he told Vince, he goes, that wouldn't, said Shawn, if anybody was screwed up the night before, he had passed out from the somas or something. He'd passed out in his food right in the restaurant. They had called the ambulance because they didn't know what was wrong. And so whether or not Vince looked into this or just took Curt's word, or if he looked into this ambulance having to come or whatever, the way I understood it from Curt was Vince was bringing me back to beat Shawn as punishment to Shawn for that whole deal. That's what I heard from Curt. I don't think I ever asked Shawn about that. I don't think I ever once said, did you go tell him that, I was drunk in the ring and you had to leave me around? I didn't know. I don't think I even ever asked him. It just kind of, it was like, I didn't know how to take it. But that's when I come out of the crowd. If you remember, when he was in the ring doing his thing, making a challenge to anybody, anywhere, and then I come in with a hood thing.
On Raw, right?
Yeah, on Raw, and beat him for the title that night. That's what that was, how that all came about. According to Curt, I never questioned it. I never went to Vince and said, hey, did this happen? And then go to Shawn and say, did this happen? That's what Curt told me. I don't think, Curt ribbed a lot, but at the same time, something like that, I don't think so I got to kind of believe it.
Do you have any kind of contact or relationship with Shawn nowadays?
No, I think I called him a couple of years ago, maybe, before he had signed on. Somebody over in England or something that worked for it. They wouldn't know how much he could come over for, so I called him and he told me, nice. I just signed a 3-year deal with WWF for things.
Yeah.
And
do you have any ill will towards them now?
Do I?
Yeah.
No. I just no ill will at all whatsoever. I mean, I think I wonder there was I think I told you we were talking about this. There was a time when he called me once, and it was when I was living in Clearwater, so I think it was '99, when he had his own little thing down in San Antonio. He had called and asked if I would be interested in doing a rocker reunion for his little territory. He thought that would get a good reaction. And, I was on it. I said, yeah, all for it. And he said, we can fill it out here, see how it goes. And, if it's good, I can take it, tell Vince to take it up there. So, of course, I was all for that. And ever since then, I've been for that rocker reunion thing. But from there, like I told you, then I get a phone call from him one day. I think he was doing a personal appearance somewhere, and he asked me, how much was I going to charge him to come in. And that was, I don't know how to tell Shawn what I'm charging. That's my buddy from 7 years working together. We did all this. You ain't got to pay me, really. But so I was telling him, just pay me whatever you want. I don't care. I ain't going to give him a number, If he wants to pay me whatever, if he didn't want, if he just said, just come in, my budget's tight, can you just do it? I'd done it for free. But that's what I was getting at. I don't care, Shawn, whatever you want. And somehow, I think this was in his days, back when he might have been still partying, somas or whatever. And I'm thinking somas just because of the slurring. He was slurring real bad. And he kept saying, he goes, what, you don't want to do it? And I was like, no, I ain't saying that I want to do it. Just pay me what you want to pay me. So I know budgets are tight and small indie things, so don't worry about it. Just whatever you want to do. He goes, so what are you, he was slurring. So what are you saying? You just don't want to do it now? I didn't know what, I ain't saying that. I don't care what you pay me. Just, I don't care. Just whatever you want. Well, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. And that was about the end of that. And so it never happened. He never came in there. And Paul Diamond was booking for him or whatever. He called me and said something. What'd you do to Shawn to piss him off? So I didn't know I did anything to piss him off. Basically, I guess I was telling him it didn't matter what he paid me. I guess I pissed him off.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes left, and I know you want to hit an Iron Sheik story, so this will be the time to close it.
All right, the one Iron Sheik, and the reason the Iron Sheik's so funny, this is one of those road stories. One of my favorites. Everybody knows the most famous one where he got the drug test. Vince called him in. It's Iron Sheik. It comes in. This is back when I think Duggan and him had got popped on the Jersey Turnpike or something, and that's what I think started everything. But they brought him in and said, "This is she tested, got the test back for your test, urine test, and tested positive for cocaine." She's like, excellent. and Vince is like, "No, not excellent. That means you have cocaine in your system." And she's like, well, what about the Don Morocco? Did he have it in his system? And Vince's like, "No." Well, what about the Jacob the Snake? Did he have it in his system? And Vince's like, "No." And it's like, JYD, he used to say JVD. What about JVD? JVD have it in his system? And they say, "No, none of them have it in their system." Why? He goes, "Well, I don't understand. They were with me." It ratted them out, didn't even mean to, man. That's the chic. That's what he is. But there was a time, man, in Iowa, Des Moines. We were in Des Moines and was at the club, at the bar. It was right connected to the hotel, right at the lounge. And there was this girl that I'd been with a few times, and regular. And there was a new girl there that took interest in. And I'm like, "Man, let me go talk to this new girl. Chic." I said, "Can she kind of watch for her?" "Oh, Marty, I take care of her for you. Anything for you, Marty." So, he's going to hold on to her, kind of keep her in place, and let me see what's going to happen with this new girl. So as time goes by, a few drinks, the new girl ends up, I'm back in the room with her, and she's nice, she's pretty. Things are going good. And I've completely forgotten about anything else until a knock at the door. And I open the door, it's the police, and they're looking for somebody. I can't remember his first name, something Kasabucky. We asked him for his real name. And I'm acting like I'm like, "No, I don't know who you're talking about." "He wrestles Iron Sheik, guys." I don't know where his room is. They're looking for his room. So they go on down, and I knew exactly where his room's at. As soon as they left, I was running down the hallway to his room, and down the picture glass windows right there, there's ambulances, there's not fire truck, there's a police thing, there's an ambulance, and the girl that I left him with is being wheeled out on a gurney. And I'm looking out, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And I'm running, knocking on his door, and he cracks it just a little bit. "Sheik, man, the police are looking for you." He goes, "I know, Marty, come in, hurry." And I come in, I said, "Man, what the hell happened?" He goes, "Marty, let me explain to you, please. Sit down, take it easy, let me tell you." And he's like, he says, "You know how you asked me to take care of girl, Marty, I take care of girl for you. She come up to the room, she asked for a drink, I give her a drink. Said she's a little tired, I give her a little powder, Marty, you wake her up. Said she's talking about feel bad, I give her some pain medication, Marty, I give her a drink. And she come to me and she said, "Well, Marty, no disrespect, Marty." I said, "Oh, fuck Marty. Did Marty give you pills? Did Marty give you coke? Did Marty give you liquor? Oh, fuck Marty. You a stupid bitch." And I give her a short clothesline. A short clothesline? What the hell's a short clothesline? Because Marty right here. So she's on the gurney. Because Marty, she moved. She not know how to work. I don't know whatever happened to it out of that, man. He got needs lawsuits or jail or what, but son of a gun, man, it's a short clothesline. How the hell you short clothesline? I'm like, a girl like that. He said, "No disrespect, Marty," but I said, "Fuck Marty." Yeah, Sheik's and he's the man.
And anything you want to close with or say to the fans? Or
did I mention the new Millennium Rockers? Did I talk about that?
No, we didn't. If you want to hit that, we got 7 minutes left.
7? All right. There's I'm doing a thing down in Tampa or Tallahassee now. We got a wrestling promotion called Capital City Wrestling, and the website is ccwtallahassee.com. I also got a school down there, Body Slam University. That phone number can be found through the website of ccwtallahassee.com, or you can call 850-251-4349. That's for Body Slam University. There's a guy there that goes by Rod the Bod, who is, I'm liking him to Shawn right now as far as everywhere that we're getting booked, because he has a lot of the qualities that Shawn had. But I think maybe even a little bit, some of them a little more. He's got that it factor, what Shawn has, the charisma thing. He's got that unbelievably. I believe he's probably way up there with that. Athletically, Shawn's a heck of an athlete. I think this kid got him beat. Maybe this kid played baseball, pitcher at a junior college, and was real good. He's big now. He's like 6'2", maybe, or 6'2.5", something like that. Probably 245 and ripped, and he's strong. He's strong. So, him and I are doing the new. Without you had the new rockers, which was Al Snow and I. So we're thinking new Millennium Rockers, and we're just going to go around and just, I can still do everything I ever did before and more. I think I'm actually better than what I used to be. So with me being better, and with this guy, I think it's going to actually be better than what Shawn was. I think with this new Millennium Rockers, which we're going to call it that until we're probably going to get in trouble with that Rockers thing, then we're going to change it up to the new Millennium Rock Stars. And Rod the Bod will actually go as Rockstar Rod. And we have a valet, which is his fiance, and she goes by the name of Barely Legal. And she was a cheerleader at Florida State, so it was great. And she's a big part of this team. It's an exciting thing because, it's like the Rockers. It's a rocker Hardy Boy with a touch of maybe the British Bulldogs, because with Rod, we have the strength thing in here, because he's got the strength that we can do power stuff that Shawn and I could never do, or Al and I could never do. And we've got some innovative stuff, like always has been a rocker trait that, and I won't say because when you see them, you'll know, but it's stuff nobody else is doing. And it's combination tag stuff like nobody hardly does anymore anyway. But it's quickness into strength into something, and it flows real nice. The only places we've done it, going crazy about it. So the new Millennium Rock Stars, new Millennium Rockers are out and about and coming to your town soon. If you happen to be going to a Raw taping, take your signs and hold them up there, especially when Shawn comes out. Let them know if you want to see your new Millennium Rock Stars. We are, like I said, our slogan is bigger muscles, faster cars, and younger women than the original Rockers. So we're going to be doing it to it. And again, find us at ccwtallahassee.com and the phone number 850-251-4349. And coming to a city near you. Lock down the women.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.